It's
Lorcana?
like,
What's Lorcana?
yeah, dude, it's a new Disney trading card game, and they like they commissioned out artists to like redo a bunch of like art for old characters. Like it's brand new art for every Magic card. It's and people love the game. It's dope.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not actually a Magic card, right? It's like a whole new
No,
game.
it's sorry, yeah, I said Magic card because I'm so used to it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
its own game, and yeah,
Yeah, I saw, people getting commissioned. They're like, holy shit, I get to draw official Disney characters as like a
yeah,
paid gig.
yep.
Um, no, it's like this is one of those things where like I really wish that Wizards of the Coast had set different standards earlier on, because now it's like Disney can just look over at whatever abusive policies Wizards has held for last
Mm,
20 years and gone like, oh, we'll just do that.
yep.
That's in line with us Disney as like how we normally do things. And so, and
I
everyone's just
think
like, look, it's they're paying good rates. It's like,
I
okay.
think it's actually Ravensburger is the company, and they're just licensing Disney. Um,
Oh,
so I'm not really
interesting.
sure how they handled it, to be honest.
I don't know. So we were just talking before stream for a moment about the new role on the
Mhm.
Discord server, and maybe Dustin's here. He can take care of it because I was about to do it while I was like fucking around on stream. Um, yeah, I've had a brainwave last night. I think I was in the shower. Best time to think.
Always.
Yeah, my shower time is incredibly productive. I gotta say. Um, the role for people who are being recognized on the server, they should get a role that just says good at art. That should be the role. Because I
Stunning.
mean that's like what we want is like we want to
Yeah.
be good at art. We want to feel like we're good at art. And when we're telling people you're not a winner. You didn't win anything. Maybe we did actually mail you something. Like you could actually win stuff, but it's not like you beat people.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to be good at art.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we definitely saw it with the Frazetta Challenge. We saw people's entirely unique spins on something that's like so well ingrained in a lot of artists' minds. And like Sleepy's anime variant on Frazetta was incredible.
Oh
And
yeah.
I would have never thought about it ever. So yeah.
Dustin called me. I had my VTuber blocking the sub goal. So if we're gonna get if we're gonna hit that sub goal to make Twitch happy, we gotta move the sorting around a little bit. We're all set now.
Yeah.
Kim says this study image looks like it's come from my Pinterest. LOL. Which I've been told it stands for laugh out loud. But yeah, no, I mean this is actually I don't know if I got this from Pinterest or I got it from Tumblr. I think I might have pulled it from Tumblr because this is like deep in my reference folder. Like right when I said, hey, you know what? I should actually keep a reference folder. Everybody else seems to have one. I should get one too. This bad boy right here ended up in there pretty early.
It gives me I don't know if you've seen Ragnarok. It's spoken in almost exclusively. God damn, what's the language they speak in Norway?
Norwegian.
Norwegian? Yeah, thanks.
Is
It's
Ragnarok a
spoken in
movie?
Norwegian, but it's obviously got subtitles. It's about modern day. It's just a modern take on Norse gods.
Okay.
Um, and the guy that ends up becoming Loki, that is very much his vibe.
This guy's
And it
got Loki
reminded,
vibes. 100%
yeah.
agree.
Um, Also, like really great show and worth a watch if you're like not completely against subtitles. It is dubbed, but I don't
I
know.
really don't mind subtitles. I love foreign movies, and
Okay.
I've watched a lot of subtitled anime over the years. But I
Hmm.
also I watch a lot of my TV shows while I'm painting, and that makes
Hmm.
subtitles impossible. Which is
Yep.
really is the only reason I haven't seen Dark yet. So
Yeah.
anybody who's going to tell me, hey, you'd really like Dark, I'll tell you. That's what my wife tells me. And I believe her. You guys are all probably onto something. And one of these days, I'm going to take time, however many dozens of hours it is, to watch multiple seasons of a long ass German sci fi television show. I don't watch Dark, but I don't want to like sit down and like be invested in something at night when I'm tired and I can't watch it while I'm painting because they're all speaking in German and the dub sounds fucking terrible.
Yeah, I think I mean I guess it's kind of almost always been the case that dub never sounds quite right.
Yeah, what's up with people who do dubs? Do they all talk like that in their real life too? Do you think?
It's so weird.
Do you think
I
that
don't
there's
know.
people who just talk like a dub when you meet them?
I certainly hope not. It would
You're
make
like,
for a really
dude, are you
awkward
dubbed?
conversation.
What's going on?
Yeah. It's always like weirdly out of context relating to like the emotion that they're trying to present. I'm like, are you like
Oh yeah, people will be like weirdly sinister for no reason. You're like, what's up? What's up with that fucking guy's whole vibe? Like, what's going on?
yep.
And it always, I think the thing that gets it is it always sounds like everyone in the show sounds like they weren't in the same room when they recorded.
Yep.
So like it's not just that it's wrong for like the scene. It's like the vibe will be wrong between the actors. Like they never record it. This is like a thing with anime too. Even in Japan, like it was like revolutionary when there's a few famous anime movies or series where they actually had the cast in the room at the same time as like a way of creating a kind of like novel audio experience. They're going to do, record it like the way that we do, most movies and TV. And it was like a kind of novel idea because that's not how they do it traditionally.
Which is so weird.
I can't
don't know
imagine
why.
trying to pull that off. That seems like it would be the hard way.
100%. Yeah. I can't imagine that it's easier. It's like sometimes in music too, it's if you can just get everyone in their own room but they're all monitored and they can hear each other, it's just better to take them all at once than to record the guitar and then the vocals and then, the drums. It's always such a mess when you do things in separate rooms, so
I had a shower thought this morning also.
hell yeah.
I was thinking about, so I've been doing these studies, right? And so I've been thinking about the idea of what, I was thinking I was going to record a YouTube video about how I managed to build an art career but never do studies and like talk about the role of what studying, the role that studying has in like developing as an artist. And I came up with a metaphor. It's like, I was talking to a guy who said, "Oh, I've been studying art for the last 2 years but I haven't been making any art for myself because I'm not ready yet."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I have to do more studies before I've earned the ability to like make paintings. And I'm like,
Which is weird.
yeah, well, I didn't want to tell him, hey, that's weird, or like maybe you are being brainwashed or whatever. I was just like, and but I've seen that kind of sentiment before of like people who decide that they're not ready to actually do stuff because they need to like build all the skills first. I was imagining it was like if you were talking with somebody about at the gym and you're like, oh, what are your goals? And they're like, well, I'm hoping to be able to play basketball someday. And you're like, oh, professionally? And they're like, no, I feel like I've been training my strength and my agility. And that one of these days I'll be able to like pick up a basketball for the first time because I don't want to do it badly, So they're like, they've been reading books about basketball and they have been like doing like weight training and jump rope and stuff. And they're like, and someday I'll be good enough to be able to play basketball. And you're like, that is not how that works. That's like 100% not how that works. Like you don't just academically learn about playing a sport and then do the physical training for it. Yeah. That's like, that would be absurd. And like no one would ever believe that that's the right way to do it. But we kind of do that with art. I don't think that's an interjection. I think that's a hot mic. Sorry, Cube. I'm going to mute you real quick. Feel free to pop something in chat and people can unmute you if you come back.
I need to figure out how to find that mute button faster. There it is. Okay.
You know what I mean, though? Like,
yeah,
that would be...
It's obscene.
That would be completely absurd. If somebody were to tell you that, it would be absurd enough for you to be wondering if maybe they were, like, playing a prank on you. Or like
Right. Yeah.
you'd be
I'd be like,
tempted to like
haha.
be like it would be hard to go along with it. Be like, yeah, totally. You don't want to like pick up a basketball and not be in top physical condition. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't ever want to try to shoot a basket and have it miss. Like that would be crazy.
But I guess like I'd say that too. But there's some things where that's like a reasonable approach. I'm thinking about weightlifting. Like uh, you want to know how to lift correctly before you go lifting, so you don't hurt yourself, right?
Well, I mean, with every physical activity, I think we kind of understand intuitively that like
Yeah.
you have to learn a certain amount by doing. That there's just really not an option to like develop an ability at a sport, even if it's just weightlifting.
Yeah.
Even if all you are is like training to be a professional weightlifter, like it's like you would still like feel like you would need to actually be participating in weightlifting in order to like get some level of like feel like you were participating. Like you wouldn't just be trying to build underlying soft skills.
What's up, Buggy?
All right.
I got it.
He asked me to unmute him and not.
I got it. It's all good. I got it. I'll just.
All right.
Yeah.
Just keep in touch with him and.
Yep.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, you're right. I guess some things there's just like a thing to think about. But yeah, no, that is insane, and I think
It's not completely insane. It's just that like I think that it's harder for us all to understand like the context that like mental and like art is like kind of half mental, half emotional. As like, God, I'm overly systematizing this. I'm like going in fully autistic with this, but it's like it's a big part of art is, you. God, I forgot I lost my.
No, it's what I was going to say was that artists just need to give themselves permission to like maybe not do exactly what they have in their mind, which is something you've told me a lot, but it's still something I struggle with, right? It's a lot.
It is hard.
Easier said than done.
Like whenever we're going, like imagine if you're like, okay, well I'm going to go and try to learn any new skill, like, but like with some things we just don't take it seriously. Like I'm going to go shoot a basketball and I'm just going to fucking suck at it. I just want to make sure there's no girls looking, right? Like I just like. I just don't want to be embarrassed in front of certain types of people, but like I will like hurl a basketball worthlessly at a rim. And it's not like I'm not going to tear myself up about it. I might want to not to do it in front of certain people, but like that's it's beyond that. There's not a lot to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like in my D&D sessions, I'm definitely closet nerd.
You do give off a closeted vibe.
Thanks, Chief. But like I like D&D. I'll talk about D&D. If you told me to role play in front of more people than just my group, you will not catch me dead doing that. There's
just
a certain you don't want everyone to see it.
Something, we don't. Embarrassment is like a thing we all experience in different ways in our lives. Mm-hmm. So it's not like embarrassment with art, like not wanting to do art poorly. I mean, that just falls in the scheme of like the many things that we don't want to do poorly in front of other people. But there seems to be like art seems to invoke like a certain amount of extra anxiety, performance anxiety from people who are beginners, but like not kids, but like adults who are considering themselves as creative and like want to explore art, and like expand their knowledge. Like they also, there is, I keep seeing it over and over again, this like desire to not be foolish and this desire to like not have to suffer through like failure. And it's like, it produces anxiety, it produces embarrassment.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. Last week, or I guess it might have been Sunday. Yeah, last week. I decided to just like sit in here and do some doodles, and it was fun to like just mess around and not be great. But it took a lot of courage. But I think a big freeing part of it was that I did share the art, and I made like a point to do so, so that I could see proof that people wouldn't be assholes.
Yeah.
But it was kind of unnerving to do it the first time.
Yeah. Well, I
And
really
so-
think that like a community to put the work into is like a big part of like what's
Mhm.
necessary in order to like do this stuff. Whether you're like going to take it seriously or you're just trying to like get out of your own head a bit, like there's something
Yep.
really good about having a community to do it with. Like, that's the reason I've taken like the community here on the Discord server so seriously. It's like,
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
It's like a big part of like what the whole project is making sure there's a space people come together and do it.
Yeah. No, I think you've already catered a good crowd. So I'm excited to just like see how it continues to grow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're it's good. It's good now. But like, the
Right.
history of Discord servers is that they're like really hot, and then everyone leaves, and then everyone go finds a new one. And I want to figure out if it's possible to like keep this thing going, like a bit longer term.
So I can say pretty confidently that you're probably going to see less of that. You've presented a space for people to interact with artists that they never thought they would be able to interact with ever in their life.
Oh, I think that if this thing continues to be good over a long period of time, we're going to see a slow trickle of more professionals and like
Yeah.
named people like kind of coming through here. Because
Yeah.
right now I haven't actually told a lot of my like art friends about this because I'm kind of trying to build the maturity of it. Not the
Absolutely.
average maturity level of the user, but like I want to not just have it be like, oh, I started this thing last week. You should pop in, and like I want people to see it and go like, oh shit, this has been running at this pace for 6 months. Like, oh
Right.
my god, you're like, this is something that's going to be around whether I'm contributing to it or not. Like, I don't want people who add a lot of value to a room to feel like I'm begging them to come join in order to like prop up my failing thing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it was something I realized that I had to be more careful of when I was talking about my project. And I should have, like, I realized recently that I should have been a lot more quiet about what I was doing until it was like a sure thing. And, you know,
Ugh, dude, I love telling people about my brainwaves, so it's like I totally relate to that.
and so because I get really excited, and the problem is if I temper that early, I find myself like failing to commit because I hype myself out of it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this is going to be awesome, but I can't tell anyone. And then part of what motivates me is people saying, you know what, that's actually a good idea. So it's like a weird balance between like I definitely feel like I need to tell people, but I should be careful about like the quantity of people I tell. And so that was
Yeah.
a thing I was learning. Yeah. You know, I reached out to one of my favorite artists of all times, like painters, to do the box art. I told you this, but man, I probably should have done that when the concept was finished. Now luckily,
Yeah.
I've committed to this.
Like
I've
if you
put
already
the
had
money
the not only the concept but like the model, like
Yeah.
the modeling done. I mean, like, hey, I'd really like to have you for the box art on this model, which I can email to you, and it's not
Yep.
like. In 3 months, I'm gonna be able to like send you a thing, and I'm hoping to line you up early. Like
Yeah.
professional, creative people get that all the time. Hey, I just I had a great idea yesterday, and it's going to be huge, and I want you involved. It's like no,
Right.
huge,
Luckily, it
massive
kind
no. Is most
it was a huge lucky string of events for me because when I told him, he told me, yeah, like I'd love to do your box art. I'm booked out 6 months, so let me know in December again how you're feeling. And
Yeah.
also, if you really want to lock me into this, I need to like the project. You can either
Oh, I'm
you
in the
know-
wrong room. I'm in the Anya's
Yeah.
point. I'm in the wrong room today. I fucking clicked
Yeah.
on the wrong thing.
But he was like, you can either just do it your way, and if I like it, I'll do it, or you can kind of keep me in the loop on the sculpting process, and if you like, let me have some say in the project, it'll almost 100% be a project I'm interested in doing. So,
Oh, okay.
and so like that was, but I wouldn't do it this way again because I would rather be a little bit more patient and ensure that the project is being seen through. But it worked out okay.
Yeah, I try not to reach out to collaborators unless I'm at the moment where I can start working with them. Where I'm not going to be like, and I'll be back in 3 months with the thing that you're going to be working on. Don't worry, I'm not going to ghost you, and I'm not just some weirdo on the internet who has a crazy idea. I really like to be like, hey, I want to get started on this. Like, as soon as you're available, here, I've got the money. All the creative stuff that would be done first is already done. Like, let's go.
Yep. And that's how I'm definitely going to do it next time.
Most private projects don't come in like that. It's like, I'm an author because I'm thinking about writing a children's book. And I would like you to do the cover for the book I haven't written yet. It's like, there's like that's the majority of the commission requests I get. And I turn down more serious ones, but obviously those, even if I were desperate for freelance work, I would still be looking at those in a pretty poor light.
Yeah, 100%. This has been an awesome learning experience for me. And the other thing I'm learning is just I'd already known, but I didn't anticipate it quite like this, is to really set aside extra cash and extra timeline. Things take longer than I even planned for, and things cost more than I had even planned for. And that's okay. I figured it would, but it's still kind of surprising. And a big thing is it's a whole lot harder to outsource the production of something. Because it can all fall apart there. If I can't find a good resin caster, I'm fucked. On spot, I'm super screwed. Kickstarter dies instantly. I lose all my money. So that's something I'm really been researching and still kind of coming up short on options. So that's the big problem to solve nowadays.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about budgeting, it's instantly making me think about my recent experiences where I discovered that if you go with the budget option, oftentimes it comes with a bunch of extra shit that ends up costing money, and it all kind of adds up to the same in the end. But it's more complicated to hire somebody who is less qualified and then trying to find other people to fill in the gaps of what they fucked up.
Yep.
Because it's going to cost you the same amount in the long run, but it's also going to be more time consuming and more of a pain in the ass and demotivating. So if you just hire, if somebody says, listen, man, I can definitely do this job, but I'm a little more expensive than average. That's a great sign, because that means you're just only going to have to pay one person instead of having to pay 3 people, an accumulated the same amount. That having one person tell you that is just easy mode.
Yeah, I contacted the best sculptors in the space and called it done. I didn't think twice about the amount that they were wanting to charge.
Yeah. Also, it seems like the amount it costs to get some of the best sculptors in the game is not that bad.
Nope. $1,500 is what I was. 1,500 euros, $600 is what I was quoted. I'm like, honestly, that's fine.
Yeah, what is my computer doing? I'm seeing windows pop up and pop all over the place.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too.
Am I getting hacked right now?
But also, something I hadn't initially thought about very early on and started thinking about really actively was, who you commission to do your work can be free marketing.
Yeah.
The sculptor I'm going with, he's got a ton of followers. The box artist I'm going with has a ton of followers, and I'm like, if I think we discussed 0.5% translates to purchase, then I've already hit my financial goals for the project, and that's awesome. On the amount of people that are that will see this project.
Oh yeah, I mean, imagine let's say you found somebody that could do it for $1,000 instead of $1,500, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this guy's just as good, and he costs 30% less. Well, where's that extra $500 you spend on the name brand dude? Is for you to sell, it's also going to potentially translate into you selling $500 more worth of stuff. Like
Oh yeah.
the unit costs on these are high enough that you actually don't need to sell that many units to make
Exactly.
up that difference. So it's not like a matter of, oh, will I be able to sell $500 more? It's like, will I be able to sell 12 more units because of this guy's name? Like, will it reach 12 more people? You're like, yeah, of course it will.
And that's exactly where my brain ended up. And yeah, it's just like little things that may not initially pop up. It's awesome.
It's like this is actually why Hollywood actors get paid so much. It's because they're worth it.
Yeah.
Like, because if you spend X number of millions of dollars getting an A-lister in the right role, they will 100% like
They'll tickets. Yep.
They'll sell more than the amount that it costs to bring them in.
Yeah. 100%.
Ashnaf was asking about the Discord overlay.
Wait, what's going on with the Discord overlay?
It looks like it is not there.
Oh, what? Oh, really? Discord overlay. Yeah, it's on top. It is.
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just not in the thing. I'm turning it off and on. I think something's just busted on the stream. What do you call it? The stream element side. Let me turn off my. Oh wait, no, I can't turn off one scene. I have to like fuck with it while it's live. It's awesome. Is it a big deal, you think, today?
Probably not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, if you could send me a link to the thing, it's like whatever link. I probably need to refresh the URL in OBS for some reason.
Okay, I'll grab it for you.
And then when I put it in there, it should make all the difference. Studio mode. I don't know what studio mode is or why it would cause this.
Okay, I actually had a question about professions in the art space. I realized that like I love working with artists to create something, and I realized that's like an actual role as art director. I mean, I've kind of known, right, but I never thought about it as like a potential profession. And I haven't done any research. I kind of like sprung this on myself today. It was a shower thought, right?
Yeah, you're like, I could have Googled this, but since you're here, it's fine.
But like, well, my understanding, I mentioned it briefly, and it's more like a who you know type of thing. Is that the truth? Do I just have to fucking know someone to get into an art directing space, or is it something I really can go to school for and
I don't know,
or just build a resume for?
I don't know about if it's something you can go to school for.
Okay.
Like, that's the thing is, I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, who you know. I think it's like right place, right time.
Okay.
If anybody is an art director in the chat, feel free to pipe up. This is I was an art lead at a studio because I got hired as a senior, and the guy who was the art lead hated being the art lead, and he's like, "Oh, you're good at this. Can you do it for me? And like, can we promote you and you can take my job?" And I was like, "Okay."
Nice.
Oh wait, yeah, that didn't work. Adding the overlay on there. I don't know what the fuck is up with the Twitch overlay or the Discord overlay thing today. Oh, I know what it is. It's because we're in the wrong room. I'm sorry, everybody. Can we move down into the live on Twitch room? It'll unbreak this thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I realized that the Twitch overlay should be theoretically tied to polling status from the live on Twitch room in specific.
Hey.
Is it
Also,
working?
make sure you stream again.
Oh yeah. Is it my OBS is not showing anything on stream? Like the preview is not animating. Oh wait, there it goes. But it's not showing the overlay still. Wait. Now let me.
Which is silly.
Yeah, that should have been it. I don't know. That was 100% supposed to be the solution to that problem.
Well, we tried, so.
Yeah, we 100% tried. I wonder if maybe now it's like me changing the URL is what broke it again. I think I broke it first by being in the wrong room, and then I double broke it by messing with the URL midstream or something.
How dare you?
And I don't know what link I would need to put in there to change it back to like unbreak it. So, awesome. I'm doing like a combination of like methods. Like I'm kind of going back to like my old method of like blocking in the study here today, but I'm also trying to not, like, philosophically, I'm trying to not be picky about kind of gridding it out and, like, maybe think a little bit more about exaggerating what I see in the thing. Anya's coming over here, so I'm maybe getting some feedback. Hey, what's up?
Can you not hear me though?
I cannot hear you, no.
Oh, weird.
You're not coming through at all.
Okay, I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, I was wondering why she was silent. Apparently she's been shouting into the mic, wondering why we've been ignoring her the whole time.
Like, what happened? So apparently when I have it on my desktop, for some reason you cannot hear me. But that would explain why people would not talk back to me before also.
Oh. You thought people were ignoring you in Discord this whole time?
Well, I mean, I am pretty quiet.
Oh.
And then
No, I just haven't heard you all day, I'm sorry.
Conversation, so I guess I can try to be on my phone again. But like, apparently when I'm on the desktop, you just cannot hear me, and I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Voice input settings on Discord.
I wonder if Kuba messed something up when he was like using his headphones.
I'm gonna try taking this link again from Dustin and add it into the overlay thing. We're doing some live surgery here.
Live surgery.
Boom.
Also, I'm going to quiet up for a while.
Boom. Victory.
Oh, you were trying to get icy.
Yeah, this overlay.
I didn't know what you meant by overlay either.
We're back. We're back in business, baby.
All right.
Oh, it's also locked. I was trying to move it a little bit. There we go.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna move to my phone then.
Okay.
I won't be able to chat much longer, but I think maybe we should get some chatters in here. Anyone else want to unmute in this filled room?
Yeah. No, it's been the trend recently. I've been trying to bring Ash back in because I was like, Ash, no one interrupts me or questions me on anything. I need someone in here who can break my balls a little bit while I'm on stream. It's like and like BS and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I might be able to make it tomorrow."
5 days later, yeah.
I don't know, she's like busy and sick and all kinds of stuff.
Well, busy is, I guess everyone here almost is a working professional in the big brain status. So,
yeah, it's not really. Actually, that's not really what it's about. Like, it's really just like, I don't know, people who I trust to kind of like set the culture.
Gotcha.
Like they're like it's a cultural ambassadorship thing, because like one of the things that I've been hearing back a lot is people go like, "Hey, wow, the vibe over here in a Huckleberry Discord is really good," and I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I really care about that." And like part of my effort to make that happen was to number one, set an agenda for like, what are we doing here? And that's like, because like I'm on here studying, right? Like before I was streaming on Twitch, I was just sitting in Discord streaming, and I'm like, that sets an agenda. And then the other part of it is like, I really early on was like, okay, these people I'm going to elevate to be like higher level community members because they represent the kind of vibe, the kind of curiosity, the kind of tone that I want to see here all the time. And so I was like trying to make the space nicer for them and like give them a little bit of honorarium to, make them feel like they're like a part of this thing, and to like be kind of vibe ambassadors.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. How did that meeting go with that sculptor? The guy. I think.
Which guy?
Or did it already happen? You've already given me the update. Last. You told me
with
like,
Daniel.
Yeah, I think last you told me he was like, "I'll do it. I'll expedite it." But I think then you said you were gonna have another meeting with him, or maybe.
No, I mean I've got 3 guys booted up. 2 of them have started. There you go. Now you're here. 2 of them started working, and then another one is like getting started really soon. So
That's
it was
awesome,
like
man.
Daniel's two like friends who he collaborates with all the time, who he trusts to like do a good job on this kind of thing. I contacted all three of them. All of them said yes, and they were all kind of starting around the same time, and that's like around now. So they're all kind of all the specifics for the project have gotten ironed out, and we're getting everything booted up. And like I should be starting to see some rough like models, the first bits of feedback coming in the next like few days, actually.
Oh yeah, that's super exciting. I don't know what you're allowed to show. I'd love to see some of the prototyping that happens if possible. If not,
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not super under lock and key. I'm not going to be promoting it widely until we're like closer to the point where we're going to start selling them.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like since it's just my own thing, there's no NDA or whatever I need to worry about, so it's going to be easy.
Yeah, I'd just love to see the process. Because I think I can probably learn from it. Although this is a bigger production scale than I could ever imagine, but I can still probably learn something from your process. So.
Oh, Ash, your coughing has announced your presence.
Wait, you can hear my cough? I thought my sound was muted.
No,
wait,
I was like,
wait,
wow,
wait.
somebody really coughed straight into the mic, and I looked up, and there you were.
Wait. My mind is. Okay, wait. My mind is blown right now because I have a setting on my mic that I accidentally hit, where all the time I'll accidentally hit a button and everything will turn red, and people say they can't hear me. So I hit that button when I wanted to mute and cough. And you're telling me.
I got a Stream Deck, and on the Stream Deck, I mapped the button that just mutes my mic full stop without asking Discord or anything. It's not a Discord thing. It just like mutes the audio input. And whenever somebody walks in the room and needs to talk to me, or I need to like fart really loudly while I'm streaming or whatever, I will just hit that button, and I'm good.
Oh wait, are you saying you can hear me right now?
Yes, I can hear you right now.
What the? Holy shit! Okay, this is not good. This is my secret red button.
I don't know what you are doing, but you're not muted, and you're live on Twitch too.
Oh, great. This is lovely. Hi, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
Congratulations.
I'm now like our past conversations are flashing before my eyes.
Which ones?
Like, I could swear that has been muting me. Oh, no. What do I do? Okay, well.
You can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, you're allowed.
I'm going to mess with that.
Do we feel like?
Okay, well, now I'm going to have to use the regular old mute and figure out what's going on there. Hi, guys.
Hi, welcome. It's good to see you.
Hi.
Sorry.
I was heralding your potential presence today, and then you showed up immediately afterwards.
It was so weird because he was like, well, Ashley was supposed to be here to give me a bunch of shit. And then I was like 5 days later as a joke that you weren't coming, and then lo and behold, here you come coughing straight into the mic.
That's gonna be my that's gonna be my summon now. I just I'll arrive with hacking and nastiness.
You sound more sick than you did last night.
I feel more sick than I did last night. I think it is the Rona. I think you're right. I think that's what it was.
I think I fought it off after about 2 weeks, and then I went to the doctor and I got like a whole bevy of meds, and it was just like a lot of it was for the symptoms, but then there was also like sort of to fight off like a secondary infection if there was a secondary infection, and I felt like I went from struggling nonstop every day, hoping I was getting better, and it just always kind of getting a little worse, a little better, to like being like on a direct upshot, and it was great.
Oh,
so I was really happy I like took the time out to go to the doctor, because every doctor in the world has treated 1 million people who have like gotten coronavirus at various different times over the last few years, right?
That's true.
But like, it was funny. I was at the weed doctor like like a month or two later, and they're like, why do you so you were getting codeine cough syrup also? What was that about? I was like, I got coronavirus, and the doctor prescribed me the stuff, and he looks at me and goes, oh, coronavirus, like that's real. And I'm like, whatever, man. You're the weed doctor. Shut
up. Who said this? What was this person? What did they do? What were their job?
Oh, they were a weed doctor.
Oh, wait, weed?
Oh, okay. You don't know what a weed doctor is? So
no.
in certain states, like, it's just legal, and in other states, you have to get a prescription for it, and you don't get a prescription from like your general practitioner. You go to a building that says marijuana doctor on it, and it's at the strip. It's at like a strip mall next to the good Mexican restaurant, right? And
That
you go
seems
in
like-
there, and they charge you like $250 to sit in a room with a guy, and he goes, "What's up?" And you're like, "I have anxiety," and then he goes, "Awesome. Well, here's a prescription for marijuana. That'll be $250." And you go, "Okay." And they're like, if you can get any other people with anxiety in here, you get entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card.
Jesus Christ. That
It's
seems like the
hilarious.
kind
It's
of
like
guy you
so
go to for
obviously
medical
rotten.
information.
Also, the prescriptions, like they also register you with this state, which lasts for a full year, but the prescriptions only last for 7 months, so that they can like bring you in there as often as possible to keep hitting you for $250 every single time. It's awesome.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, I mean, I
also,
feel
they,
mixed because,
apparently
like,
they don't believe. Well, they believe marijuana is medicine. Anything that helps treat coronavirus is not real medicine. So I thought that
why
was
do they
pretty
have to be,
funny.
like, so far in like one extreme and the other. Like I appreciate they exist because you know weed and stuff, but like
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to be going to them for any other kinds of non-weed related medical needs.
So it's not. For some reason, I thought it was legal in Florida. I guess
It is, as long as you jump through all their dumbass hoops.
Yeah, that sounds like Florida.
I mean, that's how it was in California back when we lived in California. That was like the same exact deal back when I was living in San Francisco.
Oh my
Before-
God.
Not anymore.
I'm sorry. I have a muscle memory of hitting the red button and then coughing. I'm so sorry.
Just copying it as hard as you can directly into the mic.
Well, because it just erupts from inside of me, and I'm like, I could just barely like grab my hand and force it into the button, and now my life is a sham. So anyway, changing the subject, who's this cute little fella you're drawing?
Oh, this is
He
just
looks
this is
happy.
my study guy today. I was doing cool underwater girl yesterday, and now I'm drawing goth guy.
Oh.
It's
God.
a Loki.
Gothiest guy that
Just
ever
call him what he
lived.
is. It's a Loki. Come on.
It's
He reminds me of your old character, Pete.
yeah, no, I mean like
You just need to add horns
a
and
waist
make it
wrap and
purple.
a big skirt coming off the bottom of a gothy looking dude. This looks like all of my OCs from a very particular time in college. So
Purple hair and horns. That's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
he needs.
yeah.
I mean,
there's
you can give him purple hair and horns. I think you should.
I mean, it wouldn't be particularly out of character. So nah, I'm just doing this as a study. I don't want to like. It's too
Study how
cringy
to
for
give
me.
him purple hair and horns.
It's too cringy for
I'm
me
here
to
to
call
give you
back to
shit.
those old OCs.
So the guys are a bag. Is this too loud? Because
No,
I can hear.
I can hear
the-
them. I can hear them from outside, but not through your mic.
Oh, weird. Because I think they're outside on my side.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't hear him at all. You're good.
yeah. We got guys sawing up and then attaching new pieces onto our eaves.
Oh, okay, cool. You got that taken care of with,
Adult ass
Nice.
stuff. Hell yeah.
rather than the other dude.
Oh my god.
by the way-
the one arm bandit. Oh, so I got an update on him.
One arm bandit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got an update on our workman. Let's call him Jeff, okay? Because I don't want to blow.
Yes.
I'm not trying to blow this guy's stuff up. So Jeff, I'm getting these estimates on like these guys are coming over to fix his work because we spent like $7,000 on work and then it was trash, and he probably did as much damage as he fixed, and so the guys come over, the new guys come over, and they're like, I'm like, hey, like, do any of these like materials costs make any sense? And they're like, no, not even fucking close. Like, this guy was just making shit up. Like, just charge for thousands of dollars of materials that like weren't purchased, or like using cheap shit when he was telling us he was using expensive stuff, like things like that. And so I'm trying to get a hold of him, and he's like, and so at first he's like, oh, sorry, I'm in California, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you right back. He never calls. Well, whatever. And then like I finally get an estimate on getting it all fixed. I'm like, it's gonna be like $4,500. And I hear like nothing. And I'm sending him photos of like rotten wood that's being peeled off the house that he installed 5 months earlier. And I'm like, this is really bad. Like, I need you to give me a call. We need to talk about this. Because he's like, he lives down the street. Like, he's not like disappearing into like the bayou. Like, he lives, I've like driven past his house a lot. And so like, and he's like, oh, I'm a local guy. And so I'm like just around, I'm your neighbor. I'll be able to help if anything's fucked up. So I'm like taking him at his word. And he's just not texting me back. And then like, the other day I get a text back from him, and it's like saying, hey, I'm Jeff's sister. Jeff's in the hospital getting ready for surgery.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, well, this guy lied to us a lot up to this point, so I don't fully believe him. I don't fully believe this is real. So I call up the neighbor who recommended Jeff in the first place. And he's like, oh, yeah, I heard from I'm not working with him anymore, but I heard from somebody else in the neighborhood that he had an accident a really serious accident on a job site, almost lost his arm. And so I'm like, okay. So we got like independent corroboration that this guy is kind of a huge fuck up. So it's like
this fucker. It's sorry, go ahead.
So it's like he's been dishonest, but he's also kind of like incompetent in a way that's hard to hold against him.
It seems like he's like failed enough in life that he's just like lying behind his teeth about everything just to try to keep up.
He's a fast talker.
At the same like man, you really got to like try to be getting away from someone to lose your arm just to skip the bill on something. Like,
but I don't think he's trying to skip the bill. I think he's just an older guy who.
I think he's just accident prone.
Who would really lose their arm just to get away from you? I mean.
But yeah, so he's in getting so the guy. It's like now we have like this. So yeah, this guy lied to me. He stole from me. But he might also be an elderly man with serious health issues who might be losing his arm, and his only trade is as a handyman. So now I'm like, well, chasing him to the ends of the earth doesn't really feel like the right choice anymore necessarily. So it might just be it. It might just be the end of that tale.
Yeah, I think like life has already dealt him enough, and
my point of this story is like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna need it.
Well, the point on this story is we got to workshop in some sort of handyman joke because he's losing a hand, but like tasteful, you know, like so. I just can't think of it at this moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so. I don't know.
Sorry,
like
I'm trying.
So now I'm like I've got this potentially one-armed grifter, like tangentially on the edge of my life, and I'm just And so that's why there's banging on the outside of my house, is because a one-armed man installed a lot of bad plywood in my house.
Well, hopefully the new stuff isn't going to cost as much everything, time and money and.
Anyway, so what's going on with you?
I apparently have corona. I think maybe, but also.
As diagnosed by me.
I've learned,
As diagnosed by me.
By you, Doctor Dude.
Yeah.
So. Do you got any weed? No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But I am learning both ZBrush and Unreal 5 right now. So your pal here is getting their hands dirty with coding and loving it. It's great. I'm both love it and absolutely so incredibly confused constantly.
I've never felt like I can get my head around coding. Like my dad was a programmer. He's mostly retired now, and I always thought, oh, I'll do that because I'm smart. You know, I'm smart, and my dad was a programmer, so I get into this really easy. And then I tried to program a lot when I was in school, and I just never ever could quite figure out the mindset for it. I just always bounced off of it horribly.
Yeah. So yeah, I was I thought I would really like it. I took a coding class when I was younger. It was required for my major, and I really struggled with it. So my friend, who is like lives, eats and breathes like coding, comes
Uh-huh.
over to teach me, and then like in the order of like a few hours, he does all of my assignments for the semester while we're talking and while he's explaining it to me. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. And he's, no, I'm having a fun time. I'm going to show you how to do this. And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And then after that, I just vowed never to code again. And this was when I was 19, because I was just so ashamed that I couldn't figure it out on my own. Because I had been banging my head against it for months, and he just 3 hours done.
Huh.
So now I'm finally getting back into it, and it's it's a lot more fun in that like now I can make things cool happen. I can make a guy like
You could make a man jump, like a jump man.
he looks at things and they explode, and like so like it's still really hard, but it's more exciting. And Unreal has node states that are kind of like a like nice visual intermediary between like coding and not coding. So it really certainly helps make it easy. It's still really, really, really confusing, but it's kind of branching.
You got these kind of like
process, right?
nodes, and they could be like different types of things, and then you can have these kind of operators that like act on those nodes and tie them together.
Yeah, like arrays, and gets and set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't feel like I have a hard time like understanding like philosophically what coding is. I just know that like
English as a
maybe it's
kid.
just maybe I could do the node based thing because this some of it was just like the syntax. Like I couldn't figure out how to like
It's weird.
work out an idea in it. Like people talk about, oh, the code here's so beautiful. I'm like, all looks like fucking garbage to me. I hate looking at it.
It does feel kind of nice to be able to like order around, all your little boxes and string them together in like a pretty way, like you're an electrician, like setting up.
Or like your Captain Olimar and they're all your like little Pikmin.
Yeah, but then they die, and you're like, fuck, this makes no sense. And you gotta just kill them all and grow a bunch of new ones. Um, but yeah, I think you might. It's just I think it's really having a purpose. Like I have to make this skill work, so I just gonna have to bang my head on it for the next 8 hours until something starts happening.
Sure.
And I think that's like when we were kids. Like I mean, I sure as fuck didn't understand how to learn English. Like I didn't know anything about like all of the words that people use, adverbs and adjectives. I just learned the fucking language by being steeped in it. So I figure if I spend enough time around it and just watch, absorb, and copy as many tutorials on this every small stupid thing,
Mm-hmm.
wake up in the morning and watch videos, go to before bed, watch some videos, during the day, watch lots of videos, and just absorb. Little things start sticking, and I may feel like an idiot, like it's taking 10 times as long as it would for a normal person for them to stick. They are starting to stick.
Yeah. I was thinking about this recently. Like, I'm starting to wonder whether or not I'm a fast learner or a slow learner, because I'm like a magnet for useless facts. Like I remember things after a very short number of repetitions, but I also am starting to realize that maybe I like respond to stimulus kind of slowly. Like
I think we might both be, yeah.
yeah, like I just realized that like I can beat like a Dark Souls game, but I think I just have like die way more than average to like learn bosses. Like I
Yeah.
can beat the hardest stuff in these games. I just need more deaths than the
Mhm.
average gamer.
Yeah.
And like this has been me with like Armored Core recently. Like I just beat it
Oh,
last
you're
night.
playing it. Oh, that looks so fun.
I beat like the first playthrough last night, and it's like, oh yeah, the Ibis mech, like that thing. It was yeah, it took me like 30 tries. I'm thinking like, I think I did 30 tries just yesterday, and like it's been like 3 days. Like I think I fucking suck at this. Like just, but like that's kind of been true universally. Like I think I'm like not just bad at games, but I just think I'm just like a slow at responding to things. Like I'm on study number 60 today, I think, and like the number of studies I've needed to do to like achieve some sort of basic results has, to me, felt like a lot. Like, I feel like I'm learning the technical stuff of art, like, much more slowly than what I see out of the average college student. I don't know if that's because I'm old and, like, my brain is like, calcified, or...
I don't think
I might just be, like, slow at responding to stimulus. Like, if it were facts, I think I'd be fine. But when it comes to, like, responding to, like, a input, adjusting my behavior, I think I'm slow. I think I'm really slow.
I think that as certain types of neurodivergence, you have trouble absorbing the information. For me, it's I'm constantly being distracted by 4 things at once all the time, and the thing that distracts me the best wins, but the other things are still there. So like I have to like watch the same thing again and again and again, but because of this neurodivergence, I have to force myself to get used to watching things again and again and again. So I have the stomach to obsess.
We've got some raiders coming in. FXH
Hi.
Sculptor. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the raid. What were you up to before you raided us? I broke my VTuber trying to fuck with Steam, and I'm putting it back on. I'm gonna have my display up in a second. I don't want to be without my VTuber. It's like me coming outside without my makeup on.
Oh no.
There it is. Welcome, Raiders. I'm working on a study today of this very gothy guy, and it's kind of in the rough early stages. Hey, does CC just have like weird chunks of shit that appear in the navigator? Is the navigator just fucking useless on Photoshop CC? Yeah, feel free to run if you need to run. Thanks so much for the raid. I understand how it is. Like, I typically raid at the end of my streams, and then it's like, I always want to like meet new people and say hi and stuff, but I'm also like kind of like looking at my watch, waiting to be able to log out and like take a few minutes off. Don't let me hold you up. You can lurk. You're allowed to lurk too. I just don't want you to like strain yourself. What were we talking about a second ago?
Well, before we get to that, wait, you were asking about CC and the navigator.
Yeah, is the navigator fucked up in CC? Like, or am I crazy?
It just works the way like the navigator works. Now I want to know. What do you mean?
Well, like I keep getting these little like blocks that like appear, like a sort of odd sort of block of something will just kind of appear, like bits of garbage and stuff, which I never used to see that.
Okay, I think I know what you mean. Where like sometimes it'll just turn gray in a section of it.
Yeah,
because,
that's right.
Okay, yeah, I think it is busted in that way, and it is really annoying because like I spend half of my time looking at my navigator when I'm drawing.
Right, my navigator is like an important tool. That's why I have it up. I would not have it there if I didn't use it all the time.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do about that. I just know like if you move your mouse and brush around, it clears it.
Sometimes.
It's kind of annoying. Yeah, sometimes, or other actions will generally clear it, but I don't know what to do about that. I would love to see a navigator upgrade or plugins to give it, fix that and get a little more functionality.
If I wasn't on Twitch, what I might do is I might do that thing where you add an extra window. I don't know if other people note this. Where is it? Do they have it? Did they get rid of it? And it's like new window, and so you have like 2 windows that like they mirror each other, and then I just stick that on the second monitor and use that as a preview, because then it's like you can get a larger preview of the file and have it on the second monitor, so you can double check everything. But like I feel like the navigator is like its own special little thing, and it's kind of fucking up the spacing on my toolbar, since like the UI is slightly different size.
I mean, I think I keep my navigator on another screen too.
Oh yeah,
it feels weird to see it on the same spot there. I like having to completely refresh my eyes when I move over to it, like because when it's in my periphery, it just isn't enough to reset my brain. And I kind of like that it's a different color. I mean, on a different monitor, it's ever so slightly different.
Yes.
So I can kind of,
I have this problem
for the reset.
where when I'm I'm finishing a study. I go save it out and I go upload it on Discord, and Discord's on my second monitor. I take one look at it and go like, "Ugh, the levels," and I go back to my thing and I like redo the levels, and then I like delete it and re-upload it. I have done that so many times.
Yeah, I do it like, okay, so no one responded, no likes, no responses. Okay, I'm gonna delete it really quick and bring it back.
You're like, can I blame the tools? Can I blame the tools?
Well, what's weird for me is it's the phone version that is the most different. No matter what monitor, it doesn't matter. I've tried on so many different monitors, none of them compare. The phone version is the ultimate version. And it doesn't even really matter on the phone.
Oh, you mean as far as the display goes?
Yeah, when you finally like post something. So I've just decided to make I have a Midjourney server that I created for myself for using Midjourney, which I don't have anymore, and I'll just post my pictures on my server to show myself, and then open up on my phone. And,
Interesting.
Yeah. I used to like nag my ex, like, hey, can I send you this picture? I want to see it on my phone. But that's like a fast way of doing it. But it's still not efficient. So we were talking about neurodivergence before. Anyway, back to the subject.
It's a subject which comes up a decent amount around here.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's that we have the patience or maybe obsessiveness, or like we happen to get really, really into the right things. So like we have the patience to keep banging our head against something and keep trying with something. Like everyone when I was a kid like said I was so damn smart, and I just got really, really lucky that I had this stupid toy that taught me how to read, and I really liked that toy. So when I was 3 years old, I was obsessed with learning how to read. So I came off as super smart to all the other kids, and it took me years to realize, after that, when I was kind of getting tired of reading, that like the other kids are learning way faster than me. I just had a head start.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of everything, but I'm learning to not hate myself for it. I'm doing a lot better with that now, just kind of like enjoying that, hey, I have this ability to just stick with something in a way that no one else does. And it's other people like us. And I assume, I don't particularly know if you're an obsessive person, but I would imagine.
I mean, I get on a
you
jag, and then Anya gets sick of hearing about it from me, and I'll be watching nothing but YouTube videos for like, it's like music production, and then it's lock picking, and then it's exercise. Watches, yeah. It's come in all kinds of different phases and flavors over the last years,
That's true. I think there's an art to like having a cycle of useful obsessions, where you kind of like
I also don't spend a ton of money on them. I think some people, especially if it overlaps with a kind of like borderline personality disorder, you just go like, oh, well, of course it's worth me spending $15,000 on watches because this is my new identity. I'm going to be into this forever.
Yeah. Yep. Oh God, that was me in photography, leatherworking festivals. Name a sport, pretty much most of them. Oh God, I miss it though. I do like those things. I really enjoyed those things, and I'm happy that I had those experiences and that I enjoyed them so fervently. But I do think that having a cycle of things, where like, say you have a set of like 6 different obsessions. Where you just get sick of one thing and you move on to the next thing. If you can sprinkle in at least a few of those obsessions being continuous, so you kind of go back around the horn and pick up learning to play the lute again. I don't know, and you know over a long enough period of time, that just becomes something that's a little bit of a second nature thing for you. And honestly, art is one of those things for me where I fall out of it, and then I'm obsessive, and it's all I can think about and want to do. So I try to like have a few of my tangential obsessions related to art, hence the game stuff, or other little projects I have, where I kind of have to be like, okay, Ash, you gotta focus on your art again. Like, you gotta do that. So and it seems to generally work for me.
I like. There's never a point where I'm like, oh, am I really going to be ever getting back into art? It's just like, it's like not even a question that gets raised. I feel like for me, Like I go through periods where I'm just like focusing on other stuff, like I'm thinking about other stuff. But like the identity of like being an artist and like the idea that I'm going to be getting back to it is like never put into question, just because everything in my life revolves around it.
Yeah, exactly. It is who I am. If there's one thing that I have that like my life is built around and identifies myself in, it's that. So I feel you.
And Pokemon card collecting.
Pokemon? No, it's Pogs, man.
Pogs. We all know you as the Pogomaniac.
Ow, fuck. Dude, okay, I have a quick story. I gotta blow my nose really quick.
Okay. Kim saying her recent special interest has been BTS. Oh, no.
No, it's all about Twice. I just know the names. I don't know who they are. Okay, it's not really much of a story. I collected Pogs back in the 90s when I was a little kid. You know, we had the Taco Bell Pogs, the Alf Pogs, the Mighty Ducks Pogs, and I had a whole bunch of them. And they went into storage. And then my friends and I in high school...
Because they were all going to go up in value.
Yeah, of course. That's what 6-year-old me was thinking.
You're like, all these yin-yangs are going to be worth a fortune someday.
And gotta wipe all of this, like... all of this.
I'm gonna put my slammer behind
French off of
behind acrylic to make sure that it stays well preserved.
But anyway, a bunch of my friends in high school like decided that we were gonna try to bring him back. So we all brought him to school, and they were immediately confiscated because it was in the school's rules.
Oh,
like who the fuck was paying attention to the rules from 1994?
You're like my future college fund.
It was just super funny because like we all had like a good like relationship with the teacher, and like we were all like good kids, so it was just really funny. Like that was like the thing that we got in trouble for.
They threw all your Pogs in the drawer next to all like the drug paraphernalia.
Oh man.
It's like kicking around. It's kicking around some teacher's drawer next to a bunch of handguns and crack pipes and stuff. Like,
oh god! I mean, honestly, considering where that was, I wouldn't doubt it, man. This was in Riverside County, which is where they wanted to film Breaking Bad as the meth capital.
Oh,
and
nice.
They chose Albuquerque because it was cheaper. So that seems to add up. They call it the Florida of the West.
Florida of the West, yeah.
I'm kidding.
I mean,
too deserty.
I'm in
too
the
dry.
Florida of the Florida. It's like I mean, I think it's pretty nice over here, but there is definitely some Florida ass behavior. Like every once in a while, they'll be like somebody be listing off like places where something fucked up happened, and then like Sarasota ends up on that list more often than I like. Like when I'm listening to national news, I don't love hearing my town getting named because it's a tiny town. This is a small place, and so if anyone's talking about it, somebody must have done something outsizedly stupid, like driven their car through the airport. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it was through the airport. Wow.
That was hilarious. The security footage on that one's really funny.
Really?
Yeah.
You can link it afterward if you'd like. Speaking of, in my house that I lived on back in Riverside County, someone drove through our wall into our backyard. And they careened through that, and we got pictures of it. That's its own story. Basically, my house was built on this curve where it had some of the highest incidents of traffic of crashes. People crashed about twice a week on that
we got
curve.
more raiders from Jom Alters. Hello. I don't think we've seen you around here before. Welcome. I'm doing my daily study. What were you up to before you raided? Oh, probably Altars. I'm looking at the name. Some painted altars, maybe. type your birthday and then Florida man to see what kind of Florida man you are?
I'll do it. Let's check.
So you're on one of those spots where it's like when people don't realize that they're driving 20 miles over the speed limit and then they discover it because they've just flown into somebody's house. Yeah.
It was this weird fucking just turn. They literally called it Dead Man's Curve for a reason. So I think that someone did a study of that area, and on that road, I think was maybe 2.5, 3 miles long. They had, in the course of 3 years, over 500 crashes.
Woo!
Yeah, so eventually they decided they were going to build a highway there, so cars could really careen into the houses. Apparently there was this like breed of like kangaroo mouse that lived there, and so they were like, oh shit, we're not supposed to build here at all. So they took the road down and then gave the land away to all the house owners, so our backyard increased like by double. So
Weird.
It was a happy ending to this story, but yeah, no, that's about as interesting as the story gets, though.
Well, I don't know. I was watching a YouTube video about like this exact problem of like in North America, we have a rash of people getting into traffic incidents with stationary objects like Arby's or like a Walgreens or whatever. And like it's like we want to try to chalk it up to like, people's individual responsibility, but it's probably a byproduct of like bad civic design. That's like it's a civic engineering issue, and it's just because we build our roads in fucked up ways that like cause people to like forget how fast they're going. Like if you're just not paying attention, it's pretty easy to just accidentally just like have a head-to-head collision with a Walgreens.
Yes, I mean, I'm, as you may know, I'm a bit obsessed with the Dutch, and the way that they do infrastructure design is just chef's kiss. And like there's so many simple solutions. Like there's only one type of street, only one type of road, and one type of highway. That is it. And they have to be designed to very specific specifications. And if a road is going for too long and you want to moderate someone's speed, make the road wiggle, and automatically they're going to want to slow down.
Yeah.
Like there's all these simple, easy rules to how to make driving safe, and most countries are just like winging it. I don't.
I thought I was the only one who was getting way into like road design YouTube, and then I got in the same room with a bunch of 30 to 40-year-old dads, and I discovered that we were all getting the same YouTube recommendeds.
Yeah,
we were all watching the same fucking channels,
right?
And reading the same magazines, and I was like, oh my god,
it's a phenomenon.
Like I am 100% just being like road pilled. I'm being bicycle pilled.
Yeah. It's the cabal at the top, and I'm here for it because this is shit that has been bothering me for decades. So
I love bicycles. I love walkable cities and stuff. So like, if this is like the agenda that the government's going to be pushing on us, I'm here for it.
Like it really sucks though, because some of these videos are really good and they're just so fucking snarky about it. I can't recommend them to anyone.
Oh yeah, some of these guys like have just the most annoying affect. They're just so like holier than thou.
Not Just Bikes is one of the best infrastructure channels I've ever seen, and he just shits on so many things. And I agree, they suck, but like you're not gonna win anybody over talking about things this way. It's same with Adam Something. He's another guy who does.
Oh, Adam Something is such a huge asshole, but he like, I don't know, I kind of love it.
It's like a dirty pleasure. Like we're among friends, we can do this, but like this is like the behind the like curtains talk. Like other people might be like racist or say some really bad. This is we're talking about infrastructure here.
Crime.
But yeah,
Florida man reportedly tells cops he thought playing basketball naked would, quote, enhance his skill level. I'm with him. I think the cops was getting in the way of science here. I think they're getting in the way of scientific sports science, and they should have left this man to his business.
I want to know, were the cops even able to catch him?
Because of Adam Something is the trains is the solution to all guy, right? It's not a solution to all. It's like in the U.S., like in a lot of Western culture, like there's like this real anti-train thing. They're like, no, the car is the solution to everything. And he's like, yeah, just like build trains. Like it's not that complicated. And then people are like, oh, well, we're going to do self-propelled magnetic pods that are all going to contain like special blockchain technology that's going to solve the need for traffic. And he's like, just make a fucking train. Like, stop trying to get clever and just like build a fucking train, you idiots. And so it's
in the
like
US to get something to happen.
that's
Okay.
I'm with him. I'm 100% with him. Like,
Wait, here's what happens when we do trains. The money gets embezzled every fucking time, unless it's for like a freight. The U.S. has the largest freight network in the world by far,
oh yeah,
so we're able to build trains. We have them.
we just
A
don't
lot.
put people on them.
No,
Oh.
no, people aren't worth money. I mean, anymore.
Yeah. If we could somehow put like Amazon laborers on those trains to make it so that it was cheaper for Amazon to run its business.
I could just see them like all just coming out of the trains in their little like roller skates. It's just a legion of terrifying.
Yeah.
Shit, I was gonna say something, and I completely lost it. It was good too. It was real good.
Oh, I'm sure it was
New
great.
topic. I can't remember, but back to the whole thing. Strodes are destroying America. Strodes
Yeah, fuck
are where
Strodes.
it's at. That's the thing.
Full
That's
on
the
fuck
bad
Strodes.
thing. I am shocked. I never even thought about Strodes until I'd heard the word and like, oh my god, they're the worst.
Yeah. You're like, what's that weird thing where everywhere in the U.S. looks the same and it's a pain in the ass to drive anywhere or walk anywhere when you're near them? And then
Yeah, you don't.
they have a
ugh.
name to it, and now you're like, ah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, a strode is a combination of a street and a road. They are everywhere in the U.S. I mean, they are normally four to five, maybe even 6 lanes wide. They are not comfortable to be near. They very, very often have nowhere for anyone to walk. It's entirely car built. They slice through cities. They bisect areas. Obviously bad for pollution, and they are terrible for traffic. They seem like a good solution, but
No, they're
more likely to
slow as shit.
cause
They're super
accidents.
annoying to drive
Yeah.
on. They're ugly as shit. They're like super noisy, so you never want to walk near them. They feel dangerous to cross. They are dangerous to be near. They're dangerous to be in a car. It's dangerous to be, and because they have lots of in and outs. Like there's a lot of parking lots that dot them, and so people are always going in and out of them. But they're also designed to be navigated at high speed. They offer like 45 miles an hour, but also people can pull out in front of you at any given moment. Which also makes it dangerous to go along the sides of them because people are trying to look out for cars to not run into other cars as they're pulling in and out of those parking lots. But they don't look out for like bicycles and pedestrians who are on the sidewalk because that's like not what they're likely to get smash into. So
Yeah, they don't
people will
expect
not
them.
notice you when you are trying to go past there. So you have to be super, super aware of people spontaneously trying to turn into you and like run you over because they're trying to get in or out of a strode without creating a traffic accident.
Exactly. And I mean they're the biggest reason why left-hand turns are so fucking scary too. You nailed pretty much the issue with them.
I
There's
watch a lot of
other little-
YouTube and I watch a lot about strodes and stuff. I watch all
Me too.
the popular city planner channels, but like I'm discovering like these have big view counts because like everybody in a certain demographic is all watching them, and I'm just
Yes.
wondering like what happens when all of us start showing up to city council meetings? Like, does this stuff
They
all
are.
actually change? Are we about to is
They are.
YouTube about to reshape our cities physically?
They literally are. Seattle has made some ordinances to start chipping away at the missing middle, finally, after a ton of pushback. But it's going to take, 10, 20 years for things to really show because of, 100 years of legacy of fucking around with our infrastructure. So it's happening. And unfortunately, until those things start changing, people are still going to be, shitting on, these sanctuary cities for having all these other problems. But
Yeah,
It's
we should really get
happening.
Elon Musk to come in here and pitch some ideas for all this stuff. That would really, I'm sure he's got some good ones, right?
he'll get attention on whatever you want. He'll talk about something and then just for a week or two and then just change the subject. So as long as you don't mind that it's short-lived, it's a little bit of attention. You just got to find a way to you got to convince him that it's the opposite of what he's currently thinking. So you just got to make it seem like counterculture to him, and I'd still be all for it.
Oh yeah. We need to make trains based.
Yeah, not woke. We can't have woke.
No,
trains.
the trains aren't woke. Everybody who says trains are woke, they're wrong. Trains are based as shit.
Well, that's why you just like hyperloop. Like it doesn't even have to be a loop. It doesn't
No,
have to be hyper. It clearly
hyperloop
isn't.
is trans.
Oh.
See,
can't
like
have
we
those
need
trains.
we need based trains.
Oh.
This is how we're gonna
How do you
this
make-
is how we're gonna get trains in Florida. Is we need to we need to convince all of the Florida voters that like cars are for trans people only, and then we're gonna get and then we're gonna have so many fucking
my
trains.
Oh my gosh! But how do we do that? Well, if you think about it, legacy, like the old days, people used trains. Trains were the shit.
Oh yeah, you want to go
they're
back
the
to the
classic.
1950s where everyone wore what was it, those fedoras, and they like got they were drunk most of the time, and no one could get out of abusive marriages. Yeah, those guys rode the train to work.
I'm kind of way into 30s and 40s fashion. I'm not gonna. 50s gets a little weird. 60s comes back. I like 60s fashion too, but that's a whole other. It's its own topic. We're talking about trains here.
I'm just
guys.
saying, if
This
you
is
want to
the
get
real
back,
shit.
everyone's like, oh, we don't build beautiful architecture like we used to. Look at all these Art Deco buildings and like amazing monasteries and stuff. I'm like, do you know how people got to work when they were building all those Art Deco buildings? They all rode the fucking train into the city, guys from bedroom communities. Like nobody came in on cars. There weren't any freeways. You want to get back to all that cool ass Art Deco shit? We need to like start getting serious about building some more trains for regular daily commutes. It'd be awesome.
But we gotta.
Speaking of neurodivergence, it's like I said, we go pivot straight from neurodivergence over to like train
always
talk.
can-
Like I love that like that stereotype. It seems to be completely like justified.
It is. Everything in the world revolves around trains.
Yeah.
Literally.
I'd like to ride a train.
You like to ride a train, like physically, like on top of it, or?
In it, in one of the passenger seats. I've never ridden a train.
You've never ridden in a
really?
train before?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I forget what area you from. I don't.
I mean, I live next to a train track in my hometown. Like I grew up in the Midwest, Missouri.
Missouri. That's right.
We had a train that went along the Missouri River. It was an old train track, but there wasn't any it wasn't used for transporting people. It was mostly just transporting coal, just mostly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Boring train,
Freight.
You've never ridden like a commuter train?
No.
Wow.
No subways, nothing like that. No.
That's so interesting because here in Germany, like, that's the way. Like, if I wanted to go visit any of my friends, I would hop on the train. That's just every day. It's a wild.
I never saw any
difference.
transport trains. Like, I didn't even think people still did that.
Most of the
I mean,
world
I
does.
knew that subways
Unfortunately.
were a thing in cities, but I never lived in a city, so.
Well, a part of it was that the U.S. in several occasions the U.S. Government gave money to different what's the word municipalities, and the money ended up getting put to other things.
I mean,
Powers and
I wouldn't-
principalities.
I wouldn't
Huh?
mind if. Oh, sorry.
Brent,
no.
how well says I'm in Arkansas and I've never seen a passenger train in person. What the fuck?
Yeah, no.
This is so much worse than I thought.
Yeah.
I can share that sentiment, right? They really. I never saw a passenger train, and I mean, I guess it's just because America, at least when you're crossing over most of that, it's mostly highways. I mean, so it's a very car-centric nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up
the
in
car
Chicago,
symbolizes freedom.
and it has Chicago's commuter rail has the most sparse, schedule of any commuter rail in the world. But I would see the trains every day. I've ridden on them throughout my life. Like, it was normal that there were trains. It's just they didn't run often enough.
Yeah.
The idea that there's like zero trains is like, It's like when people talk about how there's like food deserts where there's 0 grocery stores in an entire town, and you go, what?
My mom, she lives on the Oregon coast. It's 30 minutes to the nearest grocery store.
When people just buy all of their food at like the Dollar General in like a lot of places,
Yeah,
you go like, whoa,
that is exactly. My mom has a Dollar General 2 miles from her house. To get to groceries, it's very far. Funny though, they do have a train, but it's one of those old school trains from the 1800s that tourists sit on right on the coast. Like you don't actually use that thing. You just pay money, way more money than you need to take 10 times as long to get to the next town.
Del Monster's saying the Chicago rail is wild. I mean, I've seen the L downtown. I've seen some stuff. Like, what do you mean by the Chicago rail is wild? Like, riding commuter trains is not what I usually describe as a wild time. So I'm wondering, like, what this is in reference to.
You know, I'm sure it was for people in the times when the trains first, the train railways were first made. Like going like 15 miles an hour was fucking amazing. You know, like whoa.
Well, I mean, that was like cowboy times. Like you see them in cowboy movies. That's how everyone gets everywhere. In a movie where people ride horses and shoot each other, it's like they had trains then. It wasn't like they precede the car by like a lot.
Yeah.
I want to talk wild here. Okay. Last winter, there was a football game between 2 neighboring towns, Bochum and Essen, I believe. And they're towns that I live in Bochum, Germany, right now. And they are fucking crazy about football, of course. Mm-hmm. That's when you see the trains get nuts. So back in winter of last year, I swear to God, the trains were all stopped between the cities because there was a fight between 100 people that broke out on the tracks. So yes, trains can be fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, anybody who's ridden commuter rail long enough knows it is totally legal to drink on a train because it's not like you are responsible for making sure it stays on the rails. So you can just bring a tall boy and like gas up before a sporting event and no one will blink an eye. Like that's normal, at least in Chicago. I've had beers on the Metra. I've watched plenty of normal, responsible people get absolutely shit-faced by bringing their own and just hanging out for like an hour-long train ride and just like smashing through like a 24-pack with their buds.
Well, yeah, that's the way to do it.
As long as you're not the conductor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of them were.
I like to think that like even like the people walking up and down the aisle.
I've never seen anyone get into a fight on a train. Like for the amount I've seen a ton of drinking on trains, but I've never seen it turn into rowdy behavior. People always seem like they're having a great time drinking on a train. But in Europe, when football is involved, I could definitely see that taking a dark turn.
It goes heavy. They go hard. I live near a stadium, and every 2 weeks, a flood of thousands of people walking right up the street next to my house. It's kind of interesting because they'll go there like being really rowdy, like really positive and cheery, and then on the return they're just like spawn of Satan. That's another thing you were talking about, drinking on trains in the U.S. What is up with drinking in public? Like you have to put it in a bag, so it's like the most obvious thing ever what you're drinking. Because like if you're drinking from a can,
not on a train, like, there's a chance you can just like have a beer. You're gonna bring a bottle opener, crack open a glass bottle, and just be drinking in your seat. And the guy will come around and stamp your ticket, and like nobody gives a shit.
But I'm talking about. Well, that's nice. That is true. But I'm talking about in public in every other scenario. Like
unless you're like on Bourbon Street.
Even if it's like technically in front of your house, like it's weird because like that bottle can you can at least kind of cover it with your hand, and it can be anything. It can be Mountain Dew. It can be whatever. But when it's in a bag, it's only going to be one thing.
I know.
And you have to put it in a bag.
I think it's a lot having to do with scenarios, right? Because like if I were my front porch and I had a beer, I don't think anyone would care. I mean, again, also Florida, land of the free. If I were walking down Main Street with a beer, I'm sure some people would think it's a little weird, but also there's a lot of bars on Main Street. If I was in the library, I think people would probably be concerned. If I'm on the beach and I've brought a cooler and we are enjoying some adult beverages on the beach, I don't think anybody cares.
Totally.
The beach
but
is
my
public.
question is here is in any of these scenarios, is it made better by the bottle being in a bag, which is the law?
I don't feel like I
states.
see the bottle in the bag that often. Is
That
that a
might be
regular
a
experience
wait.
for
Is
you?
that a Florida? It might be. Wait. Oh, it might not be the law in Florida. In most states, you have to have it in a bag. I'm gonna look that up.
I've seen the bag in movies and stuff. I wonder if it's a New York thing. And
It's definitely a California thing.
Yeah?
I'll look it up. Yeah.
I think it might be like
Give
a
me a
New
moment.
York and California thing, so it shows up in media a lot, but I haven't seen it a ton in person.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up really quick. I have to do push to talk, so I won't be able to talk back.
And hearing you guys talk about this just kind of gets me homesick. I've been living in this fucking suburb for like so long, and it's like there ain't nothing to do around here, man. It's boring around here.
Yeah,
Wish
I've always
I could
lived,
go
I've always
back.
lived boring places, but like when I moved to Sarasota, I thought it was actually kind of like fun and exciting because there was like more restaurants and bars and stuff than I was used to in my super sleepy suburbs that I'm used to living in.
Mm.
And there's like a beach, you can go to the beach and stuff. I don't know, like
Yeah,
that if you can live if you're able to work from home, or like you make your money on the road and you can live anywhere. Like getting out of the really super boring suburbs definitely feels like the move. I mean, that was the big conversation for a long time. Like, okay, where to go? If we don't need to be tied to any zip code in specific, like where to go.
I thought about the Northeast or the Northwest.
Yeah?
Those regions. Like some small town in Maine, which usually which is interesting that Stephen King usually chooses to write up there. I'm not really sure why. Why does a lot of his stuff take place in Maine?
I think he probably spent a lot of time in Maine. Wouldn't that be it? Maybe it's just like his personal experience.
I haven't done a read up on his biography, so I just find it interesting that a lot of his stories take place in like small town, sort of rural Maine.
Yeah,
So
maybe it's
makes you
just
kinda
like
wonder what kind of
also
people-
it's easy to have a sense of imagination about those kinds of places,
Yeah. I guess it's also kind of removed.
Yeah, it's like kind of removed from most people's day to day, and it's a little mysterious.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I am definitely sick of every, movie taking place in either Los Angeles or New York City. It's like, or I don't know, Austin, Texas.
Austin?
It's like
There's a lot of movies that take place in Austin.
a few. I've noticed that Austin is a popular movie location. It's just major cities. I like stories that take place in smaller towns. I guess I could, again, I still have that small town life, childhood that I relate to. I can't really relate too much to like people who like stories and peoples who grew up in major metropolitan areas.
Huh.
Yeah, it's too many people. I mean, and frankly, I mean, whenever I see someone get like lost in like New York, surrounded by people, I would understand that feeling because it's like, well, it's so much stimulation. It's just like too much. It's like I'd get nervous and maybe have like an episode is like I don't know where I don't have any bearing.
I
And
find
everything's
New York's
moving
pretty
so
easy to
fast.
find your way around. I mean, it's like a lot of these cities are just like a grid.
Yeah, I guess it's just not a place where you can stand still. Really.
No, not you don't usually. Yeah, you don't usually do a lot of standing still on the street. It's like everybody in New York's trying to get somewhere.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm just used to a slower pace of life.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
prefer the slower pace of life, or?
Yeah. I mean, it can be boring to some, but it also brings highlight to the moments where there is action. when there is something going on, like it draws attention. Whereas like if it's just like, you know, and if you're in the city, there's just so much going on, and maybe that's great for someone with like, I don't know, attention deficit disorder. But but for me, you know, it's just like that's just too much. You know, I like to focus on one or two things.
Yeah, Summer Dragon was just saying that there used to be a ton of movies and shows in Savannah, Georgia. I saw the same thing happen. Like, I used to live in Atlanta, so I recognize Atlanta locations pretty easily. And like, there was like the new Watchmen series. Like, the climax of it takes place in a courtyard that was like where Anya and I used to go for beers back when we were living over there. It was like walking distance from our old apartment. Like, and like in Baby Driver, like there's a whole chase scene through a mall, and it's like the mall that they hold Dragon Con in every year. And so it's like, you know, like Georgia was giving everybody huge tax breaks to film there, so there was like, it was really, really easy to be able to spot all these like Atlanta filming locations if you're around there, because there's like only so many places that are actually that good to film.
Right.
I always thought it was cool. I always loved getting to see familiar places and being able to like kind of step out behind the frame a little bit by knowing like where all the actors are and trying to imagine them making it.
Yeah, I would say like my hometown in the Midwest. It's definitely, it was a really scenic place. Like very still holds a lot of its German Catholic sort of building style. It's European architectural sort of, like the, you know, it was established before the car was established, so it's an older town and still maintains like that sort of infrastructural vibe, and it has a lot of brick and mortar. You know, it's unique. It has basically mirrors the German architectural style that a lot of the people who moved there came with, and so it was like, it's an interesting, very scenic place, a small town right on the riverfront, and it has a few monuments, but you know, nothing too significant. Like apparently, the main export of my town was, oh god, it's big corn cob pipes.
Oh god! If you ever wanted to sell how backward and podunk your hometown is, I'd say like, yeah, our chief export was corn cob pipes. That sells the idea pretty clearly there.
You're gonna make me choke.
It was, I mean, you know, so you have to think, you know, Frosty the Snowman for my hometown. Frosty the Snowman with his corncob pipe and his button nose. You know, that's
He's the biggest importer.
That was the biggest cultural export.
He's like Kim Jong Il with Hennessy.
Yeah. Hey, I'm proud of my hometown.
No, honestly, no.
I'm a third generation pipesmith.
Dude, there's something about pipes. Like every time, I don't know if they're different here in Europe, but like when I go to antique stores, there's just pipes, and they're so fucking cool looking, and I want to buy all of them, but I have no use for them. I don't need them.
I got one for like $2 at a garage sale ages ago, and it's up on my shelf with all my knickknacks. And like, I'm never gonna smoke out of it. Like, my grandfather died from smoking a pipe. Like, they're just crazy bad for you, and they don't look like that much fun either. Like, but they do look really cool. Like as a costume piece, maybe, I don't know.
Dude, I saw one the other day. It looked like, you ever watch Inglourious Bastards, where like Christoph Waltz, you know, pulls out that massive dog pipe in the intro, like one of those nicely like laden with gold. I'm sure it wasn't real gold. It was 10 euros for this thing, this piece of art.
And it was the one from the real Jew Hunter.
The Jew Hunter. That's Jew Hunter. Like, it's a lost art.
Jew hunting? Wait, what?
Pipe making.
Pipe making, yeah.
I put a picture in chat if anyone is interested in what a corncob pipe looks like.
Oh man.
Chief export.
They're so cute. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, So states that are not in full compliance with not drinking in public law. There's 9 of them: Alaska, Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, Louisiana, Missouri, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. Not Florida. So technically, like, I guess the culture should be there where you put it in a bag, but for whatever reason, we're Florida. Fuck you guys. And apparently, the bag thing isn't that you're like, it's legal to drink in public with the bag. It's just that there's enough thinly veiled plausible deniability that it's like a cop would have to go out of their way enough and justify the paper, like, to get you for it. So they're just like, whatever.
All right, I need to go talk to the workmen outside. I'm gonna be back in 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
So you guys talk about something so interesting that my subscriber numbers go up, please.
Okay.
Okay.
I need to
corn cob pipes, right?
Yeah, corn cob.
Corn cob
Keep
pipes.
the corn cob pipe conversation going. That's what the people are really here for.
So why corn cob? They're just that hard. Like,
Well-
why is it corn? Why did those become a thing rather than just pieces of wood? Like,
So obviously, there's a lot of farmland in Missouri. So, and corn is one of the major exports in
Xanthan
Missouri
gum.
in general. And obviously, the cob is usually kind of tossed. You know, there's not much you can do.
high fructose corn syrup, my lad.
You can turn corn. We're talking about the cob. We're not
I
talking
honestly
about
have no idea. Xanthan gum, my friend. I have no idea how this shit's made. Probably not. You're probably.
Well,
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, maybe so. But it was definitely unique that, like, it's because usually you discard the cob. You know, if you've ever had corn on the cob, so you know you think of it as trash. But it's interesting how I guess we managed to take the cob and turn it into something, because I mean I don't smoke, but apparently the cob being made out of corn supposedly gives it a aftertaste, or sort of like a sweet profile to whatever it is you're smoking.
Like okay, it's like vaping or Swisher Sweets back in the
Yeah,
day.
it's like a
Okay.
natural form of flavoring when it comes to like whatever you put in it.
Oh, that's
so-
pretty cool.
So that's like, I guess that's the allure, outside of just making use out of what was normally trash.
Yeah, super cheap to make. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that freaked me out. Okay, I was like, okay, Pete, you can leave. I just realized that his body just freezes there in front of us. Like, hello. So you could technically be here. He could be listening right now. We could be talking.
You know,
shit about
it would be funny behind that cryptic sort of like, mysterious hood. There's just like a gaming chair. if he ever had like a other picture, like whenever he's like away, there'd just be a gaming chair behind this guy.
No, oh my, that'd be funny. Like, he can add that. Like, I'll tell him to. It's not hard to add. Like, I really want to make one of these. Like, my brain is currently on. I'm gonna make a game mode, but I want to stop to like. I want to to make one of these like avatars that he's got going on. These what are they called? Character somethings. What's the word for the character? It's a simple, basic word. Boy. VTuber. There we go. God damn it.
YouTuber. Yeah.
VTuber. Yeah, these VTuber characters. Because he was showing. I know, it's a word I know.
E-boy, e-girl.
Nice misconception.
I mean that technically that is a phrase for it. I mean, when I think of VTubers, I think of them as e-girls. Like, that's what they are.
They are. They
True,
are.
yeah. But would you
Mhm.
call Pete an e-girl?
He could be an E whatever he wants right now.
Yeah,
He's an E angel.
Yeah.
His presence is felt.
E Azazel. Is that Azazel? I don't recall. But he was showing me the program to make that stuff, and I am 100% on board. I think it's so fucking cool to make your own like painted character, like
Sure.
like
Absolutely.
Dragon's Crown or something. Just it's so neat. I think there's a lot of potential there. So yeah, I'm in.
I definitely think my avatar would probably have to be some sort of ape or chimp.
Really, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
He refers to himself as a monkey most of the time, but I would say just like a floating cube, or
I
just
mean,
Mars, honestly.
I don't think that's fair to Cube though.
Yeah, true.
Well,
But
Cube,
like,
yeah, I mean, well, Cube embraces it, but like, for me, it's,
Oh, I
I
see.
preach about the Cube, you know.
Okay,
yeah.
but you don't walk the walk. You just talk the talk. Got it. I
Yeah,
figured.
I
So
would
so
not become emblematic of like what the. I mean, I had that whole like Minecraft Steve phase, I guess. So
Yeah.
I took on the geometry of the cube, but I still had my very much my human like avatar part of
sure.
myself there.
Mm-hmm.
So respect to the geometry, right? Yeah.
So, what geometry is going too far though? Like, what geometry? Is there a type of shape that needs to calm the fuck down?
Um, I honestly, me and organics,
Oh my.
we don't get along. Me and organics.
Organic, yeah, like they just need to like decide like, okay, like how many edges are we gonna have here before like
They're
there's
just
just too many.
incalculatable. They're just
Yeah,
so
who's supposed to
mysterious.
know? Okay, Rhomboid also has a very funny name, but I don't know if I don't know if I hate the way they look though.
What?
But
I don't remember what the
you know,
fuck Rhomboid looks like.
but I sort of look back, sort of nostalgically, back to like those like PS1, PS2 kind of graphics styles where you could see the geometry planes in
Yeah, the
the
polygons.
polygons.
Oh,
Like
so
I kind of missed
yeah.
that a little bit.
So I'm yeah, I hated it for a long time. I'm not quite there where PS2 is hitting the nostalgia really hard. I am definitely there with PS1. It took a long time to get there, and I love PS1 graphics. Depending on the game, like some better than others. It really hits for me. Like Mega Man Legends is one of the most beautiful old games from that era. It
Mega
touches
Man
my heart.
Legends. Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
man.
for
I
me,
mean,
like if we want to also talk like archaic graphics that are nostalgic, Nintendo 64 definitely for me.
Yeah. When I was a
like
kid, I always thought Nintendo 64
Mario.
had better graphics than the PlayStation, and I realized I think it was just that like we had our N64 attached to the bigger TV.
Oh yeah,
Oh god,
And it
yeah.
like
but
and it automatically blurred things. So to my kid brain, it's like, oh,
but
it
but
looked
yeah,
like anti-aliasing or something.
but yeah, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, like Banjo Kazooie, those games, Conkers, um, just really polygonal, very surreal when you look back at it.
Yeah, it's like you were playing the cover of an old science book from 1994.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, like stuff like Crash and Spyro from like PS1 were like looked pretty good even for their times, you know.
Yeah.
And Gex.
I think there was this art to like, yeah, they had these old school graphics, but making the graphics work. It's just like pixel art. Like some games
Yeah,
really fucking made it feel like there was this otherworldly like origami or like paper craft sense to them. Like Crash was definitely one of them. Spyro was an interesting case. You know what game I thought was fucking gorgeous? I just completely forgot the name of it. It was Vagrant Story. That was one of the best looking games on that system. Like
Mm.
the lighting was weirdly good. Um, so yeah, part of my heart wants to like work on a game that looks like that. I and it'd be so much. What's nice is there's like so much less stress about having to worry about it being graphically clean.
Yeah, like
You know?
I think as kids, we these like archaic graphics. Like, why does like Minecraft have appeal, or why does like sort of cubic any kind
Yeah,
of
it doesn't
voxel
matter.
game? Why does it appeal so much, or why does like Roblox appeal to kids? Is because I think there's something about the geometric nature that because it doesn't exactly mirror like real life, like Donkey Kong 64. I mean, Donkey Kong himself didn't look exactly like an ape. He is an ape, but like his geometry was different from that of an ape. And so like when he acted, I mean, you were taken to more of an imaginary sort of fantasy land in
Oh,
these
it's
in
so
these graphics.
yeah, and I remember watching Ka, which was the Cirque du Soleil performance where they had this giant moving stage. It like rotated and like it was a screen too. It was crazy. And I
Hmm.
remember watching that and thinking, this is just like I'm watching a video, like a PS1 RPG. Like all these, like was really amazing. Like these games are like performances. Like when I was watching Ka, it was like this giant set felt like like the stage in an RPG where you walk into a room and everything else is black around it. The characters were like elaborately designed because you had to watch them from 200 feet away. So like they had to act by making these big gestures, and it had the sweeping music and score. But it was like there was no talking, so it was like everything had to be very simple, and visible from very far away.
Let me look up this up just to make sure.
I saw
Call was
Cirque du Soleil
amazing. It was the
show.
best visual performance I've ever seen in my life.
I saw a Cirque du Soleil show like a week and a half ago, and the narrative title was called "Drawn to Life." And,
Where was
yeah,
it?
It was in Orlando,
Fuck, I
Florida.
gotta go to. Okay, I'm gonna tell Pete I gotta go to Florida.
Yeah, I recommended it to him and Anya yesterday, and they seemed interested. Anya more than Pete, I think, but it was fantastic. It was amazing. Like I had seen Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX a few weeks prior, and like both of these experiences were just so immersive, like completely unforgettable. And 2 minutes into the Cirque du Soleil show, my girlfriend and I were like shedding tears, and that just
Holy
happened like
shit.
multiple times throughout. Because like the set, like you were saying, like the set design, the costumes, without having to say anything besides like extremely basic English, like okay or gimme stuff, like very silly, simple stuff that any international person would pretty much understand.
Yeah.
It was
Hell
amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
This guy's got very interesting shape language. I'm looking at Vibrant story right now, like in the character designs, like the hair. What's going on with the hair?
Yeah, but for those older games, the characters had the graphical quality was much worse, so you wanted them to pop. Their silhouettes to stand out, and it didn't need to be. There was so much less pressure for things being a certain type of cool back then. Like things were allowed, like the goofiness of Metal Gear or Final Fantasy. Like I don't know if those would fly today if they didn't have the legacy that they had from before.
Yeah. I think going on to like PS2 games, the ones that like stood out to me was like, of course, Shadow of the Colossus, Eco, and Okami. Okami has this like ink style. Like wait, I have a picture. But yeah, like it doesn't feel like it's a PS2 game. Like the direction is so good that like
The cell
I would.
shading.
Yeah, the cell shading is way too good.
I'm shocked it didn't harken like a new era for certain like games of that genre. I mean, I guess it was technically like an action RPG, maybe like Zelda, but like it was so popular,
Yeah.
everybody loved it, and then we saw nothing like it again.
You know, I feel like I would have maybe liked Okami. I liked how it like embraced the brushwork. I just think it went a little thick.
Yes, that was exactly my thought. I
Yeah.
know that, and I think the issue is the Sumi strokes tend to be thick, but the problem is it uses draw distance, like in textures, to illustrate the strokes. So as things get smaller and farther away, they're too
The
detailed.
strokes, yeah, the
It needs
strokes
to,
die out, yeah.
The strokes need to be more of a post-processing effect. Post-processing effect, which is hard to do correctly, because the way that cell shading works in games, the easiest way to do it is you basically have two versions of the same mesh, and one is smaller than the other, and it kind of just subtracts from the outside, and then it leaves the void as the black. So back then, that was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see it again. Oh my god!
It's a brilliant game. Like, anyone who likes Zelda, like I would recommend this.
Also, like you don't see this lore, like Amaterasu no Mikoto, like the origin story of like Japanese mythology. I mean, you see it here and there, but you never hear that story told.
Yeah.
I kind of like I'm really drawn to like Shintoism and like the whole idea of spirits. Like it's not something I don't really believe in spirits personally, stuff, but like it's fun. They're so fun. Every dumb thing having some sort of life force attached to it. Like if it gets old enough, like some can of soda can have its own spirit. This is fun. You
Yeah.
can do anything with that. Spirited Away was like, oh my god, same theme to it.
Spirited Away was a weird movie. I watched it. I was like,
It was good though.
At first, it took me watching it twice to understand what was actually like, kind of like the message.
Yeah,
Mhm,
the story structure for as enjoyable as those movies are, the story structure for Ghibli movies are a little weird. And they're a little bit like what they don't
Yeah.
spoon feed what's happening to you.
Yeah, and I would just say like the bathhouse was such an interesting like choice of location, like to illustrate this. I feel like the theme of the story, which is like, it's like there's the world and the chaos of like I guess adult life in this case, and maybe it being like kind of dirty, people coming in and being dirty and getting like cleaned, and then they leave, and I guess greed or this spirit that is like haunting our character is like it's like this thing that is it's unfeedable, it'll eat and eat and eat and eat, but it always wants more. And I guess the main character, she doesn't fall into greed, right? She doesn't accept the offering from the spirit, and that causes the spirit to go into a whole spasm and basically
Yeah, what's interesting is they didn't even No Face wasn't supposed to be an important character until well into the movie. Like the first time you see No Face watching the bridge, like walking across the bridge, they had that animated out. They didn't know he was gonna
yeah,
be.
that's funny to think like he was just a background character.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that might also be why the story feels a little bit hard to follow, because it does feel like it always felt a little bit to me like he's tacked on, but like how couldn't you tack him on? He's great. He's such a great character.
Well, it's definitely a message that definitely goes on like what is like this. I feel like it's a whole thing against like consumerism, because like what causes her parents to turn into pigs is the fact that they they don't have regard for whose place this is. They just start eating the food, and I guess in a way that would make them pigs, right?
Yeah.
And it's a commentary on maybe us. Like if there was food just lying around, like you would probably just eat it.
I would.
Yeah.
I think it depends, but I feel like it's definitely one of those things. If like other people are doing it, like you'd start to think, like, oh, maybe this is true. I guess I'll do it too.
I don't see anyone around. There's a plate full of delicious meals.
I don't know. I do feel mixed on it. Like I don't think I necessarily would. I don't know. I've stumbled into some random ass place. I've accidentally stumbled into a couple weddings and like where there was that type of situation, and I would not have felt right taking the food. But again, if everyone's eating the food and it seems like it's okay to take the food, then maybe I'd be like, oh well.
But it definitely says it has some sort of moral platitude, because like the girl, she abstains. She chooses to.
Yeah.
She doesn't take the gold. She doesn't take the food. She's just interested in getting her parents back. So she's more interested in like just getting away from this place. So she's.
No,
I say there's like some sort of moral sentiment. I think we're supposed to think of her as a good character because of that. But she, honestly, she acts like kind of spoiled, like a kid. But of course she's probably like racked with all this confusion about what's going on, because you're concerned about what happened to your parents. So and all of a sudden you're in this bathhouse, and now you're asking for a job at this bathhouse, like now and now you're just cleaning up really disgusting, dirty patrons. It's like that's not ideal.
No. No, it was really cool, and I like how it also just some of the values of that culture were just so removed also from like American culture. Like there's a lot of things tied to like the meaning of your name, and of course like your names mean a lot, but like it's not like there's not necessarily a whole lot of stories about that. least in American culture. But my understanding is,
Yeah.
in Japan, it really is important. It's really, really important thing.
To me, it's just like I feel like the movie commented on this notion of like purity and abstinence.
Yeah, abstinence.
Like to abstain is to be clean,
Sure.
and to consume is dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that is true. Oh, now I kind of want to watch that movie again through that lens. I haven't seen the movie in about 5 years, and I love it. And I kind of want to I feel like it's a new era for me in my life. I gotta watch it and keep that in mind. That's good.
As far as but yeah, obviously I don't have Shinto or Japanese background, so I don't really know for what context what they might be saying. But I did pick up on that at least.
I've returned.
Get out of here. We're having a
We
conversation.
didn't gain you any subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
They're mulling it over. They're thinking about it.
Come on, guys. That was a cool conversation about
Dude, we covered
Spirited
some good
Away.
ground.
That deserves one sub.
We talked about a lot of awesome things. We talked about Cirque du Soleil. We talked about Okami.
Rhomboids.
And we covered some ground.
Did you say rhomboids?
Yeah, rhomboids. was a hot
Rhomboids,
topic,
yeah. Which are what are they? Parallelograms, basically. Is that what they're called?
You guys aren't giving
Vagrant
enough
Story.
money.
Vagrant
PS1
Story is pretty
graphics.
fucking tight.
It is, and the visuals hold up. Like you look at a screenshot, and I guess it doesn't look that great, but like when you're playing the game, the lighting is just so good for that.
I think it's peak PS1 vibes.
It is. I feel tempted. Like I want to make a game that looks like a PS1 game, like really bad.
You and a
Like,
lot of people.
Yeah.
That's like a major
there's a
thing
lot of
happening
people.
right now.
I think. Well, I think the thing is like I want to do it right. Like it's like pixel art. Like most stuff, old pixel art games that came out back in the old days, like were not good looking pixel art games. But the ones that were, they're like. There's a new art form completely erupted from that. And I think that there's a lot of room for exploration.
Well,
with those
I
PS1
think
graphics.
it's about. I think how to recreate those styles is to recognize what were the limits of the time, and just so reconstruct those walls.
Yeah, and you also, I also think a big part of it is that I never see, even for pixel art, is like you need to have a CRT overlay on this shit, like a good one, that makes it feel like you're watching it at a CRT screen because that completely transforms how this art looks.
I know people. I've seen the screenshots. I know people say that. I don't want it. I love the ultra crunchy pixel look.
I say it's a different vibe. But I also haven't seen a good one. I haven't seen one that really feels like this, like a CRT monitor. They're often overblown. They're because of how it works. It adds. You're looking through the screen door. It adds this kind of weird moire or like over detailed effect when you don't want that. You want your mind to actually like remove the detail and make things feel smoother. And I just haven't seen one that does that.
Well, there are like a lot of games, pixel art that just like try to embody that spirit of like old pixel RPGs, like Octopath Travelers, just like a homage to like the first Final Fantasies. And there is a game that came out like a month ago. It's called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and it's basically PS2 graphics. And it's basically a clone of Jet Set Radio. Let me post like a
screenshot. I bought that. I was like a big Jet Set Radio Future fan back in the day.
That one, yeah.
And so it's really emulating the like JSRF look from the original Xbox. But like the original Jet Set Radio wasn't PS1. It was Dreamcast.
It was.
Oh yeah, right.
The future of
gaming. Dude, I had they sold an adapter that allowed you to plug a Dreamcast into a computer monitor, and the Dreamcast would actually run at like high definition. It's just that it wouldn't output high definition signal over the default like video adapter. So if you just got like the what are those what's the old standard for for video, like well before HDMI.
VGA.
Max Calvin coming in with a sub. Thank you, Max Calvin. Yeah, so like you could, but if you hooked it up to a VGA, it would actually come out at like 720p. And so you could play like the original Soul Calibur at 720p or like Jet Set Radio at 720p, and it looked fucking awesome. And no one ever got to see it that way because of like the display technology at the time. But it was actually like the first HD system. And it like, I don't know why they would spec it to have the games actually run at high res if all the monitors that it was running on were all like SD. But I owned one. I was like one of the very few people that owned the VGA adapter for a Dreamcast, and I just played it on like a big old like CRT monitor.
It's because if you remember back when it came out, like it was supposed to last for more than a year.
Yeah.
It was like the next 7-year console. Like it was the best and the highest tech piece of electronics that was ever made at that time. And
I love my Dreamcast.
There were few and far in between people who actually had HD TVs. There were the really wealthy people back in 1999. So they were hoping over the next couple of years the prices would come down and they would have the market dominance. And it just was a little too early, and they got completely blown up by
Sega is about to take over. PlayStation, watch out. PS2, really I've never heard of it. It's Dreamcast.
It's so sad. I'm kind of bummed that they just
I love the Dreamcast.
Crushed. It was such a cool piece. Like, what the fuck was up with that memory card? Like, it was so cool.
The weird memory card thing, but it was also like really easy to get. Like they would bring over all of the Japanese games with like barely localized. Like, you get like Project Justice or like MVC2, and it would come in with like all the like half the menus still had Japanese text on them. And that, like, the official U.S. releases from a lot of Sega published games, they they did the absolute bare minimum to localize it, and then just pushed it out in the U.S. with no marketing. So there was all these like really weird, incredible like Japanese releases that were just dropping into like GameStops and WalMarts and stuff. And so you could get a game like Project Egg as like a post-apocalyptic action RPG where you play as a mech that is like egg-shaped.
Not gonna lie, that's fucking. There's something charming about that.
I mean, it was awesome, and you would just get the weirdest like kind of shit that would never ever come out in America in a million years under any other circumstance. They were just like weekly releases on the Dreamcast. Like, I was working at GameStop at that point in my life, and so we would just like get like 2 copies of like Mach-E X, and we just pop it in. We're like, no one's gonna buy this. Like, we're like the only people on the planet that are noticing these games are coming out. And I thought it was the coolest thing.
And try to get them now. I mean, there's collectors where there was this game called Jungle Park that, like, made by the guy who did Cubivore. It is the most confusing, inane, weird fucking Japanese game I've ever played. No idea what is going on. And it, like, there was nothing about it online except for, like, one mention of it on some obscure website. Nothing on YouTube for years and years and years. And finally, I watched someone else post a video on it, and they were just as confused as I am. There's tons of games like that, tons of these cool, weird little experiences, and I think it'd be really cool. Like if I were to make like
there was a point in internet history where a lot of obscure games there was absolutely no media on them, but like nowadays we live in this like golden era of YouTube. Like, I brought up the company, the first company I worked for in the games industry. They released a game called Homies Rollers.
Yeah.
Were you involved in this conversation?
No.
So Homies Rollers is a Mario Kart clone using the IP of like these like little figurines that were racist stereotypes that would come in like American gotcha machines.
Oh, Homies,
yeah. And so it was Homies. They made the company I worked for, Webfoot, made a game that was a Mario Kart clone with the Homies IP called Homies Rollers. And like, there was no evidence this thing ever existed online. It's not like it's not like IGN fucking reviewed it or whatever. But now you can like watch whole playthroughs on YouTube for like Homies Rollers.
Actually, now that you're talking about it, I remember Homies, that company that I used to work for, that licensee that did apparel and merchandise.
Oh yeah, no, it was like Homies a bit of a brand for a minute.
Homies was their first license. Oh my god. It was so I never did anything for them, but yeah, I remember seeing homies around the office. I just hadn't heard that word in a decade.
I know. That's like it's like definitely not like maintained its relevance into 2023.
Too bad. I think they're set for a comeback.
Yeah. I've been buying up all the homies off of eBay. They're gonna come. They're coming back. Just mark my words, everyone.
Oh my lord! But anyway, the idea of making this old old school game that has this air of mystery around it, and somehow managing to keep that, is kind of alluring. Like it feels kind of like has this janky like poorly translated look, and there's some Japanese stuff on there. There's no real information on how to do what. I mean, it's kind of hard to pull off in 2023. But
did you play Tunic? Did you play Tunic?
Tunic, no.
Oh my god!
Oh god, yeah, that's such a good game.
You're describing Tunic. It's a really fucking good game.
Sonic Dreams collection, but let's
Tunic is a game that like looks like a normal top-down platform like action RPG in like sort of a Zelda mold, and you start playing it and you're like, oh, it's kind of Dark Soulsy, but it's got this weird thing where they never explain. There's no tutorial. They never explain anything in it. But they do give you an in-game instruction manual that looks like an old 1990s instruction manual. But it's
I love it.
But it's written entirely in a fictional language, and it looks like an old like Japanese Nintendo Power, where it's got like really good illustrations of all the stuff, but like half of it is like got bits of English in it. But then it's got bits of this foreign language that like is sort of like the experience of getting like a strategy guide that was written in Japanese. And you find pages of it throughout the game, and there's like you start to wonder like sort of what's the meta story of like there being this instruction manual for this game, and like what is this language and how do we translate it, and like if you do translate it, what kind of secrets are in the guide that are not apparent in the game that are like not accessible just by playing it. And so it's that got this whole meta layer of trying to figure out like what's going on with the instruction manual while you're playing the game itself, which is really fucking cool. And it looks great, and it's super charming, and it plays pretty good.
There was a real version of that book. Wait, let me stream actually.
I get the was it the Zelda game that came out in 3DS a few years ago kind of vibe from it, where 3D dot game heroes without the 3D dots. I love it. I love this old shit. Or this old vibey shit.
But like the instruction manual thing was such a weird, cool little innovation.
Yes.
And it just 100% nailed that feeling of like, I'm a kid and I've got this like instruction manual and it's like half in Japanese and I have absolutely no idea what any of this stuff means, but you're like trying to look at the graphics to figure out context clues, like because like the buttons that you're supposed to push are like obviously just like the correct controller buttons. So you're like, well, this word must mean this, and if that means it there, then it might mean it over here in this part of the instruction manual too. And
yeah, so I'm streaming it actually if anyone wants to see like how the book looks like.
Yeah,
it's just like moon runes and just like a little bit of English.
It like I thought I could translate it because I was able to do the language in like a couple of other fictional languages in games. Like I'm pretty good at puzzles, so I was like, oh, I was able to do Fez. Like I was able to like brute force my way to figure out the language in Fez. I should be able to do this. And after a couple of nights of banging my head against it, Anya looked up some stuff on Reddit and gave me a hint, and I was like, oh, I was not even fucking close. Like it was actually way more challenging to like translate than I had expected, but it's still very cool.
I feel mixed on that. I mean, I kind of love that games have so much deep stuff buried, but at the same time, if they're things that, like, would you really have ever figured it out kind of stuff? I feel
not this
I like
one.
it,
not this
but,
one. I have to say this one, I don't think I would have. It might have been, if it was like I was buried, if I was like in a post-apocalypse, and it was the major mystery of my life was what is this language, I think I might have been able to figure out eventually. But as like a casual game player, I don't think I ever would have got it.
Like the whole
it has a weird it has a weird like hook to it that somebody figured out organically, but it was too tough for me to figure out. But you can also get a lot without ever fully translating it, because you like there's so much cool contextual stuff happening inside the instruction book, and like as you find more pages, like you start to find like maps of areas, and like things are like little X's on them or things are circled, and then you go explore there and find stuff.
Oh. Huh. Did you ever play PT?
Play which one?
PT.
PT? No, I get too scared of scary games.
Oh God, I hate how much I love scary games. Like good ones. The psychology behind getting into your head. But that game had the most obtuse way to complete it, because it wasn't supposed to be completed. Like,
yeah,
I think they were hoping that it would take people weeks to figure out like the entire world to take weeks to figure out how the fuck to get through the thing, and they did it in a matter of hours.
I saw a video on it, about like what the solution is, and it's like I don't know how anyone got it.
I actually never was able to get it to work myself. I followed it to a T, and it just still wasn't fucking happening for me. So apparently there's supposed to be several ways to do it, and it's kind of inconsistent, but people eventually found some weird formula that does work.
And they got to see the cutscene with Norman Reedus in it.
Norman Reedus. No one else gets to. You don't deserve it otherwise. But damn, that game, crazy. One of the best horror games of all time, if not the best. And it's just one room over and over again. It's a trailer. It's not even a fucking game. You don't do anything. You just walk and press X and maybe zoom in. That's it.
What if the rest of the game, what if the actual Silent Hills game actually sucked? Would have sucked?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, now I don't even know how it could ever live up to the legacy, so I think they dodged a bullet.
I know there's some indie developers that are trying to make a full game that is like PT, like that. There are people out there doing PT likes that are trying to make full-blown games out of it.
There are a ton of them. I mean, which I appreciate, that's moving gaming forward, but man, it's a little on the nose, I think. I think there are some things to be pulled from it loosely. I have tremendous appreciation for what the Silent Hill games do with sound and ambiance. I would love to kind of.
Where do you cut off? Do you have a cutoff point where you're like, these Silent Hill games aren't good anymore?
Homecoming.
Homecoming? Are you saying you like Homecoming, or everything after Homecoming sucks?
I didn't care for Homecoming.
Because I know some people who never liked Silent Hill liked Homecoming.
Yeah, because you were a soldier. In the other games.
Oh wait! I'm thinking of a different one. I'm thinking of the one that was on the Wii U.
Oh, Shattered Memories, I think. That one was supposed to be pretty good. I didn't play it.
Oh, okay.
But it had some. I mean, it had some interesting story bits. I hear.
Yeah, Homecoming looked like
shit. My understanding was that the enemies in the game would change depending on what your character did, because most of the Silent Hill games, a lot of the what's going on is manifestations of your own craziness. Part of what makes it so creepy. So I thought that was a really cool feature, but that's all I really know about it. That it's supposed to be decent.
I always think it's so weird that everyone is so obsessed, that there's the Silent Hill community is into the Silent Hill lore. Because it always seemed so obvious to me that the entire thing is intended to be kind of an obtuse, metaphorical, kind of David Lynchy thing.
Yeah.
And trying to build lore into a thing like that always felt like it really wasn't necessary. Trying to create a coherent timeline with kind of a meta story between all the Silent Hill games always perplexed me.
I think it's because there's some parts that are concrete and some parts that aren't, and kind of just feeling our way around the evolutionary tree of life that is this game. I think it's kind of fun to investigate and see what things actually do connect and what don't. And honestly, most of it probably not. But it's just such a. You could tell that the people who created this put their heart and souls into it, and it's this kind of cool to commune with these people who had their own creative endeavor. It's inspiring. it's kind of cool to be a
I
part of
love that
magic.
Silent Hill exists. I'm not able to play them.
Yeah, so I like the idea.
I played some of Silent Hill 4, one that everyone agrees is a bad one.
Silent Hill 4 had some really cool things going on though.
It had some original ideas, You
and
go
it
back
was
to
a
the
really good
apartment,
look.
and the apartment's got a cool vibe.
It's very vibey. It's definitely what I would want to bring people over for. You look out the door and like you see different people coming. You look out the door and life is normal.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it could have been executed better. And also, it was like visually, like a PS2 game, it looked really good. But honestly, so one of the things I want to explore. I mean, who knows this project I'm working on if it'll ever even turn into anything. I'm just super excited about it. As like I do kind of want to explore like how ambiance that Silent Hill like I don't want to say like theorem like the way that they make they get into people's heads. I want to use that in a game that's not necessarily scary, just maybe odd or off or just like that plays with the perception. Like the way a person who isn't necessarily divergent might perceive things a little bit off, So I don't know. I just think it's so cool. There's so many cool ways to mess with things, like the idea of like adding normal maps that are constrained to the camera projection. So basically, depending on what you look at a rock, and you look at a rock from one direction, it looks like a fucking rock. But if you look at it from another direction, it looks like a face. I got a shit. I love it. It's so fun.
I like every time you talk about it, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like it's always just like you're like, okay, well, there's like a Cthulhu monster in the sky, and then there's like a vampire, and they're like,
no, it's not a vampire. It's not a vampire.
Or like there's like a mortal being, and they have an antagonistic relationship, and the time is frozen. There's a rock that looks like a face when you look at it from the wrong angle, and I'm like,
that's not.
Doesn't sound like a game. This sounds it sounds like somebody is having a
fever dream, high off of being sick from COVID.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like somebody coked up at a party explaining their fucking thing. Like there was some producers I worked with back at CCP that would like do a pitch like this every once in a while, and I'd always be like, "You're my boss, so I need to listen to the whole thing." But you are coherently interested in this thing over a longer period of time, and so I'm like wondering. It seems like one of those things that like maybe it. Like I just need to see it. I want to see it. Like
and that's
you're building
just
visuals for it. You're making prototypes and stuff. I want to see that. Like
it's just one of those things that's going to take time. And I'm kind of working through it with one of my best friends. So we're kind of feeling through what this thing is, and I honestly don't 100% know what direction it's going. And it's just fun to talk to you about. I have a bunch of these ideas and seeing if does this puzzle piece work with these other puzzle pieces. So
I don't know.
To be honest, I have there are some elements that are very firm and other elements are kind of squishy. No. I just like shooting the shit with you, so it's kind of fun to talk about these abstract concepts and like see what like your take is and what things you like. What just I don't know, it's just fun to talk about. But I do like there are certain elements I do want to keep. I do like the idea of like everything is frozen right before an apocalypse. Just this thing is crashing down, kind of Majora's Masky or Outer Wildsy type of vibe.
I couldn't get into Outer Wilds, and so like I was like, okay, well I'm gonna avoid spoilers. And then like later, after I'd kind of tried it and bounced off of it, people were like, oh, it's a time loop game where the world keeps ending, and I was like, what? I just kept. It turns out I'd been dying so regularly that I never even got through a single world reset.
Are you kidding me? It's 22 minutes.
I know. Like I had somehow either managed to happen, but it had like coincided with me like falling into like a pit or something. And so like I was resetting, but it wasn't because like the whole world or the universe blew up or whatever. And I had no idea that was like what it was until like people described it to me later, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. But I was just like, was this universe? You're kind of poking around. You're discovering people playing instruments. Like, Yeah,
Yeah.
it's charming. I just and I'm like, I don't get what it is, and then I clearly 100% missed what the core mechanic of the game was before like dumping out and not playing it. So
it's
I'm clearly part of the problem that made it so that that game didn't make more money. People like
well,
me
I
are
mean,
the reason that game didn't make it. That everyone involved like a millionaire.
it broke a lot of convention, and I think that from what I hear, what I understand is most people like it. It felt wrong to play. It was breaking a lot of rules, but after a certain amount of time of
I was like,
playing, maybe a few hours.
So is this game
you
about being good at learning to pilot a lunar lander? Like, I don't get it.
Oh no! It's more about like understanding the world and by exploring it and figuring out how all these different pieces fit together, and that you can completely beat the entire thing the way it's intended to be beaten in that 22-minute time slot. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
But it's more about you uncovering it. Like, I guess theoretically you could just go online and look up the answer, and that defeats the
Yeah, I don't
purpose
really
of it.
want to
Like,
do that. Maybe I'll give it another shot now that I like kind of know what genre game it is. Like,
yeah.
but it's like everyone was like, no, don't get any spoilers. So I'm like, this lunar lander game has really obtuse puzzles, and I keep dying by falling off of stuff. I'm gonna quit. Was like, which is like 100% not the takeaway I think that people were supposed to get from.
Well, I think
Wilds.
it's okay. Like, you go to another area and like.
Yeah,
honestly,
I did that a
think
couple
that's
of
okay
times,
because-
and I was like, I don't know what I'm looking for. Am I just supposed to just like have like charming conversations? Am I supposed to get really invested in like the archaeology part of this? Like, because I don't really care about
Well, my understanding is
archaeology and video
every-
games very much.
Every bit of text in that game refers to something of value. So it's kind of collecting, like, you're actually like, it's pretty normal to like be writing all of this shit down and like linking them together.
Oh yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to pull out a notebook for this one.
Yeah, and there's like a number of different endings too. So like depending on which path you really get invested in, like it can yield different results. Again, I actually didn't play it. I watched some playthroughs online though. So
Oh okay.
yeah, so I spoiled it for myself.
That seems like a decent game to watch somebody else play. Also.
It is. I watched there's a video of an astrophysicist playing, which is pretty great because like it's all about space, and he's like impressed with how semi-accurate it is. So
we were talking about like old graphics and old games, sort of nostalgic. One thing I'm sort of nostalgic for that I don't know how much you see them in modern games nowadays, but Easter eggs. You don't see a lot of Easter eggs anymore.
do we not?
I thought we do.
I mean, I can't think of many games that like sneak things in that are like as funny as like one of my favorite Easter eggs of all time is in Halo 3, in one of the maps, in the out of bounds, like the multiplayer maps of Halo 3. There's always an out of bounds area, and one of the maps is like got this like really far off sky map, and there's these like super far away like satellite dishes, and in the horizon off on one of the maps, and it's funny because you wouldn't be able to see it with your normal like sort of FOV, but if you get a sniper and you zoom into one of the far off horizons on the map on one of the dish array in Halo 3, like you can see that there's a PNG of one of the game devs just standing on one of the dishes.
That's funny.
And he's just kind of hopping. He's kind of just jumping. It's just a PNG, and he's just kind of hopping at you.
That's cute.
Wait, it was the dumbest thing, but I saw that. I was like, that was someone having fun at the game studio,
It's super cute. Easter egg that I liked was in GTA. I think San Andreas was where you went to the top of the quote San Francisco Bridge. It wasn't San Francisco. I don't remember what the name was. And it just said, if you made it up there with a jetpack, I think it just said, there are no Easter eggs up here. Go
There
away.
are none. Yeah,
Get out of here.
I just don't think there's that many places where, or at least maybe they're not as discovered. Maybe they haven't been uncovered maybe yet.
I want to say I feel like there are. Just I can't think of any off the top of my head that are recent. like the games I'm thinking of. Well, actually, that game was kind of old. Are there not? I don't. I refuse
Are
to
there not?
believe
I mean,
that they.
I don't know.
Why? I think that maybe in some games, because the bigger games like have this like tight budget and production turnaround, they don't have room to throw in weird, funny stuff or like flippin' funky things as much. Maybe that's part of the reason. But like that means that you would think that indie games have a lot of them. Um, Offhand, I can't think of any, but maybe.
Let me see if I can find a picture of the Halo 3 Easter egg, because it's honestly a pretty funny picture. Just to think that there's like just PNGs of the game devs just hidden, snuck in like the places where you don't imagine them. Like that, to me, that's one of my favorite Easter eggs. It's just like it's just kind of like a mark of the people who actually work there, but they don't expect you to see it.
All right, I think I'm just about done with this thing. I would have just over 2 hours on it. If I had not had the computer pulled away, I think I would have been in good shape on it. So I was supposed to like record shit yesterday right after I got off the stream, and I thought back on it like around 8:30 at night. I was like, what did I do immediately after I got off of stream? Like I cannot remember. Anya can't remember either. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna start doing some recording as soon as I get off of stream. Be 2 hours on the stream, then I'm gonna do an hour of recording. And I said that going into it, and then like I just ended up in a fugue state, and I have no idea what happened. I don't know what happened between 3 and 6 p.m. yesterday. There's no record of it. Totally lost time.
Yeah.
I think I might have gotten.
Well, I know it happened around 5.
Yeah, around 5, your mom came over and you guys started to get pretty drunk.
And then you came and joined us in the pool, and then you were grilling.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
And
between
you were
2
playing
and
a game
then.
before my mom showed up. You were on the TV playing.
Was it just me playing Armored Core? Did I just lose it all to Armored Core?
Maybe. I mean, it seems likely.
It's possible.
Also, hi Anya. How are you?
I don't know.
It is so loud outside now that I cannot hear the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this stream up. We get into. Oh my god, I don't have the chat up. Fuck. I knew something was missing. There it is. So we're gonna need somebody to raid. Nubovich. All right. I'm copy. I always feel like it. If I open the link through. If I open the link through clicking on it in OBS, it opens the thing in OBS, and then when I try to like log out and close my OBS, it like closes the stream on the person in the middle of them talking to me. All right, so I'm gonna get this open, and I'm gonna get these. I'm gonna get this study saved and posted. There we go. Huckleberry Studies, number 60. Remember, everybody, always save for web when you're making the JPEG copy. Let's see. Boom. I'm gonna pull up the Discord on here real quick. I need to like pick a I need to like pick a window or whatever that I always loads so it loads correctly when I try to switch the scenes. And it's being extra disobedient today. There it goes. I want to see what the new dailies were inside here on the way out. Damn, there's some good ones. John Gillespie's. This cool cat warrior guy. I've been seeing a lot of people do these like swords for the sword timber. It's an interesting concept.
Neat.
Sword timber. There's like a whole list of. I mean, are there multiple lists of different people who are like number 20 Star, number 20 Art Deco? I guess there's different lists of possible swords you can pick for sword timber. Sidelights hitting the sketchbook, doing pencil. Yeah, I've been talking about doing Drawtober next month. Dang, it's a good study. And so I'm thinking about how I'm going to be doing. The Uriel sketch out for the Uriel 3D challenge in the 3D art challenge. That's gonna be cool to see. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. Like, am I gonna try to do digital drawing and like maybe like stream from the iPad, or am I going to try to like hand cam while I stream doing pencil drawings? I might take over Anya's office. Anya, is that all right? Because we actually have like a bit of a setup to be able to stream traditional stuff over in Anya's office because it's actually got light in there. It's not in a fallout shelter.
You can try.
Yeah, so that might be October.
They're like really outside, like making lots of noises, which is why I'm muting myself.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's like there's 6 prompts over the course of 31 days. And so that can definitely do that. Like committing to just doing pencil for a whole month sounds like a really cool challenge. Oh, Cyber Dragoness has a cool piece she's posting too. Let's see. Into the sketchbook too. My self-portrait. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me today. I'm gonna. Do we got another 2-viewer Andy? Make someone's day. Choose a smaller streamer doing some sketches. Tenebrous art. Okay. Let me get them pulled up on my browser real quick, and then I'll hit the raid button. Numovich has some people. Oh, it's not 2. They've got 7 people all streamed for the last 2 hours. So this will be nice. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining me today. Thanks Ash for coming and keeping me company today.
Always happy to.
And all you guys, it's been nice having a little bit more lively chat. Even though we're not chatting about art, it's like, who cares? Like, it's nice to just be able to chit chat and stuff while I'm painting. Really makes the time that much more enjoyable for me. So I appreciate it. I will see you guys on the other side.
Bye bye.
Peace.
Have a good day.
All right. See you guys.